What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of the panel, which is co-hosted by Mike, aka the CouchWarrior podcast, right on cue. Wi-Fi is back up and running. How are you feeling, Mike, on this pay-per-view week for UFC 285? The return of Jon Jones up at heavyweight. How you doing?
I'm super hyped, man. I'm super hyped to be back on the panel, joined by two really dope guests. Bane, it's been a minute. Weezy just spoke to you last week, but always fun. And yeah, if I start tripping out or something's happening, my Wi-Fi hates me right now, which sucks, but I'm going to do what I can.
Won't stop the show. We still got 14 fights in this card, stacked from top to bottom. A good departure from some of these fight night cards of the Apex we've been having to endure, but there are some really good fights here. Even the debuting fighters in this card, I'd say, are, like touted prospects. They're very exciting matchups that they're put in. But my two guests are very exciting as well. I'm going to kick it off with Uncle Weezy, who you guys have seen a lot on my channel, the king of MMA stats. The guy's made an incredible database for us to draw from for a betting perspective. Just an all-around nice guy. So what's going on, Uncle Weezy? How are you feeling this week?
I'm doing really good this week, because we haven't had the best cards lately, but this UFC 285 card is so good. 14 fights, so a lot of fights to break down. Some fantastically fascinating stylistic matchups on this card. I can't wait to break it down with you guys because I've got some pretty strong takes. I'm already like 7.5 units deep on this card, and I think I'm going to be going even deeper. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Absolutely, man. I feel you. I've got about 6 bets on here, looking to add some more. We just went over some of those props, as I mentioned earlier. So looking to add some spots here. We'll see where we line up. But last but certainly not least, we've done a show together on a different channel, but the first time on my channel for Ben the Bane Davis. This guy is incredibly talented, not just at the Twitter personality, the memes that you know him from, most likely if you spend time on social media, but this guy's got legitimate skill to back up his humor, his play-by-play commentary, some of the best that I've heard. So honored to be joined by a professional in Ben Davis. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, it's fantastic to be here, man. Pat, you're an awesome dude. Do not listen to anything I say today, guys. I'm going to lose my whole bankroll Saturday night. I'm going to be broke as fuck Sunday morning. No, it's going to be a blast.
Hey, you either lose big or win big. I kind of like playing that way myself sometimes as well. But for you guys, is there a certain fight on here besides the main event? Besides that, what are you most drawn to on this card? Start with you, Weezy. What do you like in here besides the main event?
The Gamrot Turner fight for me is the most fascinating fight on the card because this is the step up that Jalen Turner has earned with the performances that he's been putting together recently. And Gamrot is so experienced, so well-rounded, got such a great, well-rounded minute-winning skill set. And we're going to find out what Turner's wrestling defense looks like. But it's my favorite fight on the card for sure. I'm a big fan of both of those guys.
I like that. I compared it to at lightweight with Jalen Turner. He's like a Jon Jones type of physique compared to the rest of the division. I
just said that earlier today on Home Sports Radio that he reminds me of because he's still young and he's still growing into that body and learning how to use that cheat code body and length that he has in order to make himself a better fighter. I remember Jon Jones coming up, and I remember watching him make that progression, and I'm rooting for Jalen Turner to do the same thing.
I like it. How about you, Ben? Do anything stick out besides that main event?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with one of the unsung fights of this pay-per-view, Cody Garbrandt and Trevin Jones in the featured prelim. I feel the thing with Garbrandt is that, not that he's become underrated necessarily, because when he loses big, but those defeats have come at the hands of killers. If you look through the resume, he really is only losing to the elite guys. This is a massive step back in competition. So I think if we can bottom out the level that Cody Garbrandt can be successful at, he can mount some modicum of a comeback. I'm not saying title aspirations. I'm not saying contender status, but it's good to see a winning Cody Garbrandt, and I think Trevin Jones is the perfect opponent for it.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger step downs in competition we've ever seen at this point. Not a lot of guys take that kind of, drop down to a guy in Trevin Jones who's been taking on good competition, but, guys who are making their debuts over and over again. So, yeah, it's one of those spots where, man, loser might need to leave town after that one. So let me shout out the chat real quick. We got my guy James, first one in the chat. Good to see you. Rob Lawrence, always hanging out with us. My guy Danny, Herc MMA, grateful dude, French Potato. Everybody's favorite Daz File saying, let's fucking go. Ryan Jordan, I'm stoked as well, my friend. Any Action Effie in the house. Everybody go check out his channel. Growing rapidly, and he needs to get a lot more subscribers, man. He does awesome breakdowns and fighter interviews. Dan Hamilton, I think he's talking about you, Mike, with the tusks growing out of the side of your head there.
I have a feeling he's talking about one of the fighters. I was also confused for a second, but I'll take
Talking
it.
about Shavkat for sure.
Yeah,
It's
right.
got to be Shavkat.
That's what I was thinking.
Man, but yeah, let's Danny, I'll point this out since we were talking about the Cody Garbrandt. Man, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing. This is like that family member that's been, grandpa's been in the hospital bed for a while, and when he goes, you're not really the most surprised. It's almost a relief. Man, but but moving on to the first fight of the night, we got to get through these prelims, man. We got the shortest notice fight on the card in the lightweight division. Loic Radzhabov taking on Esteban Ribovics. Radzhabov is making his debut here, but it's not like he's totally green. He was in the PFL, like 9 different appearances, making it to the finals twice unsuccessfully, but he's been in a lot of 5-round fights. He's got a well-rounded skill set, and Esteban Ribovics' opponent is one of these Argentinian guys coming off the successful Dana White Contender Series knockout. 11 wins, 0 losses, all of them by finish. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of these spots where the money line, I feel like, is kind of wide because it was right around what? Radzhabov was a minus 275 favorite at this point. Ribovics plus 235. I don't know about you guys, but, like, even though Radzhabov's been in the PFL, we've seen guys win the $1 million, go all the way to the finale, win it, that have gone like 1-3, 0-4 in the UFC. So how much do we really weigh that experience and the skill set there? So, Mike, kick us off how you feel about the money line of this fight, who you're going with.
I weigh that experience a lot, man. I honestly do. He's fighting literally like the best guys available outside of the UFC. I mean, other than Zach Zane in his last fight, Rouge Manfio, Alex Martinez twice, Ahmed Aliyev. These are just his recent fights. Before that, you got Natan Schultz, Chris Wade, Islam Mamedov. Like, the dude's fighting studs nonstop. Whereas you look at Ribovics and he's fighting nobodies. He's fighting absolute nobodies. And he's even getting taken down by some of them. This Suarez guy in round 2 took him down and controlled him. He sweeps well. He does scramble, but it's going to get taken down here. I really think so. I don't think either guy's a tremendous striker. I don't think either one's very good there, but I guess I'll edge out Ribovics. I just don't think it's going to remain on the feet. I think Radzhabov is going to take it down to the ground. And I've been looking at the totals. I was a little curious about the unders, maybe the over. I haven't even decided yet. I want to see what you guys are thinking, but I did parlay Loic Radzhabov just for a unit. I'll talk about the rest of it, and that's all I'm doing here.
I got you. Yeah, we're looking at the over for this fight. The over 2.5 at plus 105. The under 2.5 for this to finish inside the distance. Like I said, Ribovics never been to a scorecard before. The under is at minus 135. Weezy, what are you liking in this spot, betting-wise, if anything?
I don't like much betting-wise for this one. With Radzhabov, you got the much more experienced guy, and a guy that when you watch the tape on him, you know that he can just kind of drown somebody with his wrestling. And we've seen, we don't really know what Ribovics is going to offer from the wrestling defense. I saw him go to the Kimura trap over and over and over again when people were taking him down. But if that's your only trick in the UFC, somebody that's an experienced opponent is going to find ways around that. And I think that's probably what Radzhabov does here. But I kind of feel like I'm missing some information on Ribovics. Who really is he? How are his skills going to translate at this level now that he steps up? And he's got an opponent change here too, which could be a problem for him. So I'm going with Radzhabov. I think he wins this by decision, but from a gambling perspective, I'm staying away from this one.
I don't blame you there. There is some missing information. We got Radzhabov on short notice. Ben, do you know anything about this? Was he supposed to be on the Contenders series? The Ultimate Fighter in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you. I've got no clue. I see Mike down there nodding. I'm gonna assume he's correct on that. So that's a step up from the Ultimate Fighter, just getting a debut. So good for him for the opportunity. But yeah, I agree. This is a decent step up. Radzhabov, Mr. Jaguar Pa himself. The last time he got finished, and the only finish of his competitive career, amateur and pros, in 2015. It's been decision losses and split decision losses against better competition, and he's beaten better competition. I don't know. I'm going to go with the heavy favorite. Again, it's first fight of the night. I really cannot give less of a fuck about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Hey, fair enough. Yeah, I'm on the Radzhabov side as well. Nothing really overwhelms me about his skill set, but I think the grappling should be a good edge here. All of the competition that Mike had led off the explanation about, I think, should be a good spot here too. He's definitely somewhere in between some of those finalists, like the $1 million prize winners in the PFL. He's got the skill set with the grappling, not always eager to use it right away, which would worry me in this fight against such a powerful hitter in Ribovics. But overall, it should be a good spot for Radzhabov to get it done. But I probably agree with the money line, for the most part. So not a whole lot of betting value to glean from that on the money line. But we do have a very exciting debuting fighter up next in Farid Basharat, who's going to join his brother Javid in the UFC. Both undefeated guys right now, both very well-rounded skill sets. And Basharat is welcoming back Damon Blackshear, who did make his debut already in the UFC last summer against Yusuf Salal. And it was a good spot for Blackshear, who's the former CFFC champion. But, even though it was a majority, I think it was a majority draw result, wasn't like it was that even of a fight. Like, because he kind of started and then ended poorly, and almost got TKO'd in round 3. So it felt more like a loss for Blackshear to me. But the guy does have a good skill set, a kickboxer with a BJJ black belt. I just think Basharat does everything just a little bit better or a lot better. As a result, he is like a minus 500 favorite at this point. I want to say that's where this is at, right? Let's see here. Yeah, about minus 500 favorite, plus 350 for Damon Blackshear. As far as dogs go on this card, I don't think Blackshear's the worst one, but I still think Basharat should get this done inside the distance. I think that the mix of going from the striking to the grappling is way more fluid in my eyes. Weezy, what do you think about this fight, and do you have any bets on it?
I don't have any bets on it. So Basharat looks great on tape. He just looks complete. He looks fluid. His striking is great. He's constantly switching stances, which is confusing for a lot of opponents. And then when people try to take him down, it looks like he's immediately reversing them or stopping them. And he gets takedowns whenever he wants them. So I think he wins this fight. I think he wins it fairly easily. But with where the line is, what are you really supposed to do? So I hate when lines are like this. I hate when I kind of cap somebody at minus 300 and then I look and I see they're minus 500. It's like, okay, now what am I supposed to do?
There's a few of those in this card.
Yeah, and that exactly. That is kind of like the narrative of this card. So I kind of dove deeper into the fights where there were closer lines, trying to find some edges, but it's just how it is on this one. Basharat probably wins it by decision. He doesn't look to be like this savage finisher, and Blackshear has never been finished in 17 professional fights. So if you put a gun in my head and said I had to bet this, I would probably pick Basharat by decision.
I like that. I wonder what those odds are at for decision. Basharat.
I'm going to look that up right now, though.
Is it like even money? You got to be able to do better than that.
It's close. I think.
Yeah, I see minus 110 on Bet Online, I'm sure.
And even money, you can't even really do that, because then you're just like rooting against him getting a finish for 15 minutes and hoping that he holds on. It's minus 110, plus 110, plus 100. There's not enough meat on that bone.
We got Shady saying that the line is off at minus 500. Totally agree with that. Jenna Marie, good to see you in the chat, showing Weezy some love. And our other guests, we've got two amazing looking guests here, man. They're putting me to shame here. I'm surprised they want to even hang out with my ugly mug on camera. It's Mike, what do you think about this fight? Do you have any plays on this? And what do you think about the inside the distance versus decision for Basharat? Do you agree with Weezy on that one?
Yeah, I think it's going to go to decision, and because the line is like not great for Basharat by decision, I'm kind of looking at Fight Goes minus 136 on FanDuel. Makes sense to me, honestly. I think that Blackshear is being a bit underrated. I think the line's disrespectful. He's not a good striker, but he's a very good wrestler. He's very strong, and I think the size and the physicality is going to be kind of obvious. We'll see during weigh-ins, but I have a strong feeling. And I do like Basharat. He's good. I don't think he's as good as his older brother, which is why I think the line is the way it is. We see the name tags over and over and over again. But yeah, I think Basharat should be able to keep it on the feet. If it hits the ground, I think he'll be able to reverse. He's very good at scrambling. And I just don't think he's spectacular, but he should pull this off by decision. So I'm probably going to hit that Fight Goes at minus 136.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Their records do indicate that for sure. The Bane, what do you got on this one, man? Who do you like here?
Hey,
you
man,
familiar with Damon Blackshear's career at all in the CFFC?
You know, as much as I like the CFFC, I guess there's a blind spot, and its name is Damon Blackshear. But I am quite familiar with Basharat. And, you know, again, he's just a cut above in every single discipline. But I do think that Damon, as slick as he is on the ground, I mean, 8 submission wins in his own right, I think he'll be able to defend whatever Basharat does. It's going to head to the canvas at some point, but I don't think there'll be a finish. Yep, fight goes at -136. Mike, I gotta piggyback on that one.
Yeah, I don't mind it. My only problem there is just the unknown nature of some of these guys coming off the Contender Series. They look on the Contender Series a certain way. They come to the big stage on a big card with the crowd, and sometimes that makes a difference of how they fight. But Farid and Javid, they fight very technically. They're very similar. I do like the striking of Farid quite a bit, though. He's very good. And just how fluid they can blend their strikes together. I think Farid does end up joining his brother being undefeated in the UFC here. So no action on this one for me. And you guys have really talked me off of some of these props. Like we were talking about, some of these giant favorites where it's like too inflated of a line, then you're just fighting to get even money on like a prop where you should get +200, +250. You're just fighting to get a plus number. So yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on that one. Shout out to Carlos, CJP UFC Bets, another content creator doing good work. Go check out his breakdown for this card as well. Pink Floyd. I know Pink Floyd. I know you're talking about me, brother. It's all right. I don't disagree with you. What's up, Solar Warden? Man, Solar Warden back on Twitter with his algorithms. I wonder how he's going to do on this card. He does no tape and is very proud of that. And he's got just pure mathematics, kind of Uncle Weezy style, but without the tape. He's like Uncle Weezy and Yanni the Greek blended together on Twitter. What is going on, my brother? We move on to the first female fight of the night at strawweight. Tabitha Ricci taking on Jessica Penne. Another example here where this is one of the fights where there's the money line's too big, but it's because it's rescheduled. I believe this is supposed to be last fall. I had broken down this fight. I think I had a bet on Tabitha Ricci around like -175, -185. And now it's -275 or more. So the bookies saw where the money went. They've reopened the line. This has happened on a couple of cards here. So, yeah, we've got -300 for Tabitha Ricci. Jessica Penne +250. Jessica Penne is at that ripe old age of 40 at strawweight here. So not something you really want to back, especially when her striking doesn't look the best. And we saw her get pieced up by Emily Ducote last summer. And then Ducote went on to pretty much quit in round 1 against Angela Hill and get outpointed decisively. So not a good age and a loss there. Tabitha Ricci, still young, has the judo to combine with her BJJ. I think she should get this fight to the mat, stay safe, and probably grind out a decision win. Ben, who do you like in this bout? Do you see any finishing potential for Tabitha Ricci here?
I don't see a finish at all. I mean, these women don't really have a whole heck of a lot of power in the hands necessarily. A lot of volume, some good, well-rounded volume, and sometimes dynamic striking. But the only factor here that's really catching my eye is the 12-year age difference. Of course, Penne at 40, Ricci at 28. There is a 6-inch reach disadvantage that Ricci is going to be facing. But again, I just, at this point, Jessica Penne doesn't pose too many threats outside of making it to the judges' scorecard. So if I was going to get really in the weeds on it, I think Tabitha Ricci extends to 8-1 by way of judges' decision.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Did anybody got the numbers up on what that might be betting wise for Ricci decision? Is that still you're paying chalk on that probably?
Right
-145, -134.
Yeah, it's hammered. It's hammered. But like we said, this is gonna be the fucking narrative of the entire card. Heavy is heavy, and the dogs are dogging. You know, like that's really what it comes down to with 285.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to pick your spots and find the parlay busters and try to avoid those. And Mike, you got anything on this fight? Any props sticking out?
No props are sticking out to me. I'm going to be looking to play Jessica Penne. I mean, +250. This is absurd to me. She's so much bigger. Tabitha Ricci, what does she do to get the fights on the ground? Double legs. Do I think that's going to really work at a high clip here? I don't. I think it's going to be hard to pull off that stuff against Jessica Penne. Yeah, you can argue she's already fought bigger women. I said it myself on my show. She fought Polyana Viana, who's bigger and has a longer reach. She fought, blanking on her name, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, I do think that Penne is going to be able to keep it on the feet when she needs to. And at striking range, I mean, I literally wrote in my notes, I hate you, Tabitha Ricci, because like it just aggravates me. I don't know why. Sometimes I'll tape fighters and I'll just get pissed off. It happened to me in the PFL last week. I just get pissed. It's like, what are you doing? She's fainting so much and not doing anything about it. So how is she going to set up those shots? Is she just going to dive for them? Do I think she should win? Sure. Do I think it should be this wide? Hell no. So I'm probably just going to wait, see if people keep parlaying up Tabitha Ricci, and then I'll throw like a half unit on Penne, I think.
Yeah. Weezy, anything to add on that side of things? You got anything?
Yeah, these are the dog spots that I like to pick out. When I see a striker versus striker or a grappler versus grappler matchup, and one of them is minus 300 and the other one's plus 250, I'm trying to find reasons to take the plus 250, because I think Jessica's going to get the fight that she wants. She wants to grapple. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She wants to try to get your back, and I think she's going to try to get opportunities to do that, but I think Tabitha is very good. She's a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo player. So, she's going to be very strong in the clinch. She's going to be very difficult to take down there. And also, she does show some decent top control, some decent wrestling. But I think that Penne is going to get a grappling match, which is what she wants. So I don't hate the dog shot here at plus 250.
Yeah, not bad at all, especially when we saw Ricci kind of tire herself out in that one performance, just throwing, flipping her opponent over and over and over again and kind of gassing out. Was that the Oliveira fight? Yeah, where
she ragged out Oliveira, but couldn't get the finish, even though she got to mount in the second. I thought she might be able to get a finish in that fight, but wasn't able to.
And then I think round 3, she was just like gassed out from tossing her around. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a path there. When you see the line is this wide, it's a good spot to attack it. I'm on the Ricci side, but again, I had a bet on her last time this fight was booked, and there's no way I'm going to go from my minus 185 or whatever I had to go into minus 300 now. So just a complete scam that way. But moving right along, very exciting bantamweight fight up next between Mana Martinez and Cameron Saaiman. Going to talk about the money line once again, man. This is a weird one for me right away. This jumped off the page. Cameron Saaiman around that minus 280, minus 300 price tag around a lot of books. Mana Martinez plus 250, the underdog. And it's a spot where, man, Cameron Saaiman just fought a couple months ago in his debut against a short notice regional scene talent in Stephen Koslow, and he was a minus 275 over Koslow. So now against a credentialed UFC veteran of a few fights at this point, somebody who shows a lot of resiliency, a decently well-rounded skill set, but more just the striking, I think, is really where Mana's got the edge power-wise. You're gonna open up Cameron Saaiman as an even bigger favorite here. I just feel like that's off. So I took the dog shot on Mana Martinez. I think he can get this done either by finish or by a decision here. He just shows that he's very resilient. You saw that Ronnie Lawrence fight. He would get taken down repeatedly, get back up to his feet, land knockdowns even after being damaged. I like what I see from Mana Martinez, and both guys are young, still able to improve. Ben, who do you like in this spot, man? Are you a Cameron Saaiman believer here in the 7-0 EFC fighter?
Yeah, no, I'm not. And there's a little bit of personal bias. I got the chance to train with Mana way back in August. The guy is a lot better than what he's shown inside the ring. Out in Glory in Kansas City, they have such great work going on. And, I think in his last fight, if he was just a bit more focused, then that finish would have manifested. You saw James Krause, of course, screaming at him to have a bit more urgency to try and get that stoppage. And I think that's the mentality that Martinez is going to roll into this one with is, I had the opportunity to really make some statements in my previous time out, and it's about time to deliver on him. You talked about, the freshman and sophomore appearances in the UFC. Really hasn't made a name for himself yet, but I know how talented Mana Martinez is. And like you said, Cameron Saaiman, it's a bit juiced up in an unfair manner this time around. So let's swing on the underdog. I think he extends to 11-3.
All right, I'm in total agreement with you. You made me feel a lot better about the bet I've placed on Mana Martinez. Mike, how do you feel about this one?
Going to make you feel even better. I'm on it too. I think I'm going to be playing him. I was hoping to get a better line. I got greedy, so I'm probably going to play plus 245. Look, I think the line's off. I love Cameron Saaiman. He's super dope. I taped his stuff for Dana White's Contender Series. I did a bunch of stuff for when that was going on. And I had to deadass go and buy an EFC membership on their website so I could tape this guy normally. And I did. And on the regionals, he was champ in EFC, but he didn't look amazing. In his title fight, he got out grappled quite a bit. And that's why going into his Kim fight, I was favored Kim. And when the line opened, they had Cameron Saaiman at minus 300 for some reason. So I slapped Kim. I think it was plus 300 for everything I could put down. And then the line flipped on its head. And I did the opposite with Cameron Saaiman, locked up some profit. And, he looked not great against Kim at first, but he's very good at persevering. He's got that power late. 2 third-round finishes in a row. That's impressive. But I think that Martinez is actually going to be the better striker. Technique-wise, I think it's just there. Like, he's a very good boxer. He's shown that. I think a lot of people fading him are kind of just hanging their hats on these other fights, like the Guido Canetti fight, where his coach literally died right before and he was on short notice. Like, all these fights where it's close, I saw people saying he has bad cardio, but tell me how then he almost knocked out Ronnie Lawrence after 3 rounds of wrestling in the 3rd round. Clearly, he's still got it. I'm looking at violence here. I'm looking at the under 2.5. Maybe the fight doesn't go. And I am going to take a half-unit shot on Martinez. I think this could have been a much closer line. Saaiman, like, is he really going to wrestle all that much? He doesn't do that. Like, against Kozlov, he showed really good, like, defensive grappling and BJJ to get back up when he did get taken down. But he's not doing the wrestling. So I like Martinez as the dog here as well. One other thing I was looking at is maybe Martinez decision, no action. Maybe if he's not, I'm having a hard time deciding if I see him like winning the minutes, you know. I think that Saaiman will probably win the minutes. So I'm thinking about playing it that way. Decision, no action. So I get a little bit of insurance if we go to decision. And if he gets that knockout, which I think he's live for, then I'll cash.
All right, and shout out to Tajik Bey. The GOAT is in the live chat. Good to see you, my friend. Hope all is well this fight week. And speaking of winning minutes and, takedown attempts and things like that, that sounds like Uncle Weezy's language, man. He tracks all of these things and makes decisions based on those numbers. Anything stick out on the page for you in this fight to determine if it's going to go over, go under, violence, no violence?
So when I saw this line, when I saw at the beginning of the week, maybe Saturday, that Martinez was plus 200 and Saaiman was like minus 230. I said, all right, well, I got to tape this fight first because Mana Martinez is more experienced. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage. He's got 6 more professional fights, more time in the cage. He's fought the much better brand of competition, and the guy has got serious power in his hands. So I was like, all right, I'm taping this. And so I taped Cam Saaiman first, and I was like, okay, all right, Cam is only 22 years old. So when he's making mistakes in some of these fights that you see him winning the championship against this guy Menengola in EFC, he's getting out grappled a little bit and stuff. But I mean, like at that point, he's 20, so he's not going to have a fully formed skill set. But this kid's got ice water in his veins, I mean, he's not. None of these moments are above him. He's showing the ability to have amazing cardio. The kid's cardio and output is absolutely ridiculous, like you would expect from a 22-year-old young man, right? And then I watched Mana Martinez's tape, and I was like, holy shit. Like, this guy is a knockout artist and nothing else. What I've seen in the cage from him is that he's extremely low volume, and that is not Cameron Saaiman's problem. Cameron Saaiman is going to be winning all of the minutes in this fight up until Mana lands a big shot. But I kind of feel like if you're on that Mana Martinez side, please just bet him to win by KO, because I don't think he's going to win minutes at this level against people that aren't named Brandon Davis and Guido Canetti, plain and simple. Like Ronnie Lawrence knocked him down 3 times, okay? And I'm still waiting for him to kind of like get over the death of his coach, Saul Solis. I'm still waiting to see that guy that I saw on the regional scene that was sparking hose in the first 30 to 90 seconds of every damn fight. Just waiting, being patient, and then landing that one big shot. But this is different up here. These guys are a lot more well-rounded. And actually, Cameron Saaiman's got a really good chin. So actually, I was completely shifted by the tape. Normally, I like to go by the numbers. All the numbers, all the statistics were telling me Mana Martinez at plus 200 was of value. What I saw on tape led me to believe that Saaiman's going to kill this kid.
You got to end that breakdown with an oi for Fight Talk only.
Oi!
Hey, there we are. No, that's convincing. You brought it back down to reality. We're somewhere in between. The 3 of us are on Mana Martinez. I've bet it, but I saw that plus 700 Mana Martinez knockout. Like, that's not a bad price.
That's the way to play this, man. Yeah. I would, like, if you're on Mana, play a full unit on that and then tell all your friends about how you just won 7 units, because that's how he wins. he's got serious power.
Yeah, he bobs and
but
weaves.
like
he slips and rips with
that have
those
that
hooks.
power,
Yeah.
they wait for it, right? They just wait. They know they can lose minutes until they land that one big shot. But up here at this level, sometimes that doesn't work.
And especially at the weight class too, you got to consider that. Like it's an okay strategy at 185, 205, heavyweight. Man, these later weight classes, the headhunters, not always my cup of tea. But hey, we'll see. One thing I do like about Cameron Saaiman, though, just to cap it off, is like you said, man, the kid's a dog. Like having round 3 finishes is always something I like in any fighter. Like to be able to dig deep. And in his last fight, he got that point deducted from that illegal knee. He knew that round 1 was iffy. He lost the point, and he went in there and dug deep and got the finish in round 3 when it counted. So I do like that quality quite a bit. Good to see you, the Early Weigh-In podcast. Hey, he got that shot on Mana Martinez at plus 250 himself. All right, now I feel better again. Screw your breakdown, Weezy. What are you talking about?
It's all right. Hey man, it's plus dude, I love dog hunting. That's how I think you can be profitable in the long term.
I'm doing that a lot on this card for sure. But hey, we can move forward into maybe we'll see if you like dog hunting in this next one, Uncle Weezy. We got Ian Garry taking on Song Kanan at welterweight. One of the bigger favorites betting wise on this card. We got Ian Garry is like a minus 650 favorite at this point, minus 700 in some places. Song Kanan returning. I forgot this guy was even on the roster. Plus 475 underdog. And Song Kanan's frankly one of these guys who was on the international cards trying to boost that market over there. I think he's a Chinese prospect or was at one point. And he had, a few good knockouts, but they were all over guys that are no longer in the UFC, never had success in the UFC. And I really think he's like knockout or bust in this fight. And I think Ian Garry, that 10-0, he's made some mistakes. He's fought some very durable opponents like Abe Green in his last fight and actually put the whooping on him. But I feel like this is a big step down in competition here. I think Ian Garry should win this pretty easily. One of my more confident picks, but I'm not sure how I can play it betting-wise with this giant money line besides playing like an Ian Garry by finish prop, and I think he can get it done. I mean, we saw Max Griffin knock out Song Kanan cold, and who's Max Griffin doing that to, So am I too high on Ian Garry? Am I too confident, Mike?
Nah, you're good. You guys were talking about dog hunting and all that. I'm chalk hunting this card, bro. I'm irresponsible as hell. Be careful if you're tailing me. I'm parlaying it up this week. I've been really good at not doing that. If you look at my last few cards, I'm almost not parlaying at all. But hey, he brings it out of me sometimes. I mean, Ian Garry, he needs to get knocked out here to lose this fight. He's going to be winning the minutes. He's going to be winning the striking exchanges. He's just a better fighter. Pat, you hit the nail on the head. Gabe Green, way better than Kanan Song. It's a step down. And I used to love hating on Ian Garry. I was a part of that train, and honestly, he's won me over. Proved me wrong with the Gabe Green fight. I thought he was gonna lose that one. I got Green as an underdog, I think, and now I'm a fan. I love that little thing he does, I love it. I think it's hilarious. But I just have him parlayed up, and I took the KO minus 135. I took it last night. Bet Online freaked out for some reason and took the line down. Not because of me. That's not possible. But it's up on other books now. I think I even saw a minus 120 line. So I like that quite a bit. You look at Kanan Song, he's losing by KO. That's going to be the path here. I think that Ian Garry's going to look really, really good here.
Mr. Davis, how you feeling about Ian Garry these days, man? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I've been really sold on him. Again, with what Mike was saying, I kind of like to hate on Garry initially, the Conor McGregorisms, the copying and pasting. I just thought it was goofy. But man, he really put it together his last time out. Looked like a really well-rounded striker against, we talk about durability. That's Gabe Green's whole bread and butter. And I love, the pressure that he put on him. And I just don't rate Song Kanan at all. Pat, like you said, this guy's biggest moments have come against complete cans, no buddies that have been turned back to the regional scene, if not worse, their local Walmart being a bagger. So I just don't think that this is going to go well. And hey, Ian Garry to win by KO, TKO in round 1 plus 165, slapping it all over that.
I like it. How about you, Weezy? You much different on here?
No, not much different. I kind of feel like Song Kanan is kind of like the breakdown I gave in the last fight for Mana Martinez. He's a knockout or bust guy. He doesn't throw a lot of volume. He's not a particularly talented wrestler at all. 0 takedown attempts in 6 UFC fights, and he's been taken down 6 times on 12 attempts. So he's boasting a really nice 50% takedown defense, getting out-controlled, at like at a ridiculous ratio, like 8-1. So, yeah, I mean, Ian Garry inside the distance, hit with a big 1-2 right down the pipe, sleeps this dude.
That's what I thought too, honestly. And obviously, you're chopping down that minus 650 price tag of Ian Garry. So even like the round one prop for Ian Garry by knockout, it's like not even plus 200. It's barely.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it just sucks.
It's so hard.
Like at first glance, you're like, this looks like it could be a play. And then you're like, no, what am I doing? Any other fighter, this would be like, I'd be getting plus 700 for this.
Yeah, he drops him and then sinks in a rear naked choke, and you're like, no. Yeah, it makes it so hard to bet fights when the line is that juice to begin with.
One thing I do like about Song Kanan is he is a willing dance partner in like very exciting fights. I think that's why they've kept him around, probably why they signed him in the first place. I mean, I remember that card. I can't remember. It was a China card, but I think it was Alex Morono taking on Song Kanan, and Alex Morono looked like freaking Max Holloway in there against him. Like it was a very exciting fight. Yeah. So they keep him in there as a punching bag. I think this might be one of his final fights on his contract, and it's been a couple years since we've seen him. Do we know why there's been a layoff? Has he been injured or something? Or
yeah, it's been almost 2 years since the Griffin fight. So maybe he was trying to fight in China, and it didn't work out. I don't know, but I didn't even see any canceled fights for him. So maybe an injury too.
My guy Max Griffin kicked him out of there.
What's going on, Brady? Say, look at this squad with the fire emojis. Good to see you, man. This guy, man, he's going to be actually in attendance for this fight card. It's going to be amazing.
That's
so hopefully, barring any John Jones shenanigans between now and then, that's every day I wake up, man. I'm just like nervously looking at my news feed. Am I going to see John Jones, having killed some, burned down an orphanage or something in a stupor? Like what am I going to see? Dude, I had tickets for John Jones versus Rumble Johnson. And nope, that didn't happen because he had to hit that pregnant lady with his car and then take off. I had to see DC get the gold instead. It was lame. But yeah, Johnny, what are we going to do with you? Moving on to, kind of an unreliable couple of people here, but I do have a strong opinion on this fight. Middleweight bout between Julian Marquez and Marc-Andre Barriault. The Cuban Missile Crisis versus Power Bar. And it's a closely lined fight. It's moved a little bit in the favor of Marc-Andre Barriault as the week has gone on. And I kind of agree with that in a way. Minus 155, minus 145 for Marc-Andre. Julian Marquez plus 125 or so. I just think Marquez, he's 100% finish rate. His cardio is not very good. Things start getting really telegraphed. Although they're powerful early, it's like he's really slow and has to wind everything up as the fight goes on past that 1.5 round mark. Marc-Andre Barriault has not had a great run in the UFC so far, 4-5 in his appearances. There's been some good moments, some bad moments. He got out-hustled by Fluffy Hernandez last fall, but I just think he's got more ways to win this fight. Wear on the gas tank of Marquez, and I think he does get Marquez, either gets him out of there late or just wins a decision here. So I'm seeing this as Marquez by finish early or Marc-Andre steals this decision down the stretch. Do you see this any differently, Weezy?
I see the overs happening here because both of these guys are very durable. And, I'm really not impressed with what I've seen recently from Julian Marquez. He's looked just like a punching bag out there. He's getting out-wrestled by Maki Pitolo. He beats Sam Alvey. He loses to Alessio Di Chirico by decision. This guy doesn't really have a very functional MMA game. He's got a good submission game. He's extremely durable. But I think some of these guys make it into the UFC because they can lose fights up until they win them. And as a result of having that kind of style, they're in exciting fights all the time. And Marquez is constantly in exciting fights, but he blocks punches with his face. He really relies on his chin. And, the Phil Hawes fight, he was just getting dusted until Hawes gassed. And I don't know what he's good at. He's accomplished 0 takedowns in 5 UFC fights. Mm-hmm. He's shown 43% takedown defense in the UFC. He's winning 15% of the control time positions that he's in. He gets outstruck at distance by over 1 significant strike per minute. And he shows 54% distance striking defense, which isn't great, So I think Barriault is going to pressure him. I think he's going to walk him down. I think he's going to throw a lot more volume, and I think he's going to absorb what's coming back his way. So I'm picking Marc-Andre Barriault to win this one by decision.
Yeah, I totally agree. Bane, what do you got on this one, man? Who are you backing here? Who do you trust more in this bout?
Yeah, man, it's difficult because Weezy does come with the stats, and it is hard to deny the paper of it, but I have to roll with the person. Once again, this is a bit more of a bias. I know Julian, and he's just a tough customer for all individuals, especially at that weight class. And
is this true? Is this true, Mr. Davis? What Lou Betya's got in the...
Listen, Lou might know some insider information. We don't know. I can't confirm or deny. But no, I just haven't been overly impressed with Marc-Andre Barriault. I mean, the 16-second KO loss to Chidi and Njokuani, subbing Jordan Wright when at that point in time everybody was finishing Jordan Wright. There's just not a lot of superior professional success, I would say. Nothing that's really slamming me in the mouth. So despite Julian maybe having accolades that would be more impressive to the masses, I'm just going to go with him. Again, plus 130. It's a tighter line. And I think, I'll just roll with my guy, Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, I like it. He definitely wins the nickname battle for sure. What do you got up on this bout, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything here. Right now I'm considering just passing, but something I think is interesting to bring up, like when Julian Marquez fought Greg Rodriguez, right? I was there in attendance. That opened up at minus 110, and I'm looking at it now, close. He was plus 150. And now it's like similar odds against a guy who I don't think is as good of a striker as Greg or as good of a grappler as Greg. Probably has a much better chin than Greg. But I have a hard time with this fight. I look at, like, I was listening to everybody. I like to listen to other people's content, and everybody's really heavy on Marc-Andre. And I was like getting hype about it. I was like, all right, this line is tight. Like maybe I can get in on him. And then I rolled back his tape, and I was like, I don't like anything he's really doing. I'm not impressed, really. Like, I'll give him credit where credit's due. Like, his losses are not that bad. Getting knocked out by Chidi, like, that's cool with me. Chidi's a beast, in my opinion. And I don't know. I just look at Marquez, and for some reason, I'm leaning his way. Because I don't have, like, much to put down on it, like, I'm probably going to just pass. But I like Marquez's striking better. He doesn't have the pace that Marc-Andre has, but also a lot of people are talking about the takedown defense, Maki taking him down. First off, I love Maki Pitolo. He was like, right when I got into UFC, like back in 2020, came back to the UFC in 2020. He was one of the first fighters I saw fight, and I just loved the thing he did with like the coconut bombs. And yeah, then he had a crazy decline, but I don't think it's the worst thing to get taken down by him. He does have good wrestling. And then Marc-Andre is not really shooting much, is he? And when he does shoot, he's not getting it. He has 2 takedowns in all of his UFC fights. I mean, Weezy knows these stats better than I do, but he's also not really shooting. So my lean is Marquez. I don't really want to play his money line because he's kind of a dummy. Like, drop the bag with, who was it? Miley Cyrus?
Yeah, unforgivable.
That was one of the craziest fumbles I've ever seen in my entire life. It just insane. But anyways, because of that, I'm probably going to stay off. I am kind of considering Marquez decision, no action. Like, Marc-Andre's not really finishing anybody.
Yeah.
And while I do think the pace could wear on him, maybe for like a late finish, I don't really see it. And I think that if Marquez does win, I have a really hard time figuring out how he wins by decision. So I think it's got to be ITD. I think a good way to look at it on either side is either Marc-Andre finish no action and Marquez decision no action. Those are the 2 things I'm considering.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that for sure. I tend to be the Marc-Andre side. I think he does wear out the gas tank of Marquez and take this late into the fight. So I tend to like Barriault here. I do have a money line bet on him, a small one. But we have a time constraint for Ben the Bane Davis. Unfortunately, his time is very precious. He's a busy man, and I definitely appreciate you hanging out with us, man. So just give us a quick co-main and main event prediction. And your stuff is in the description, and you can plug your stuff and see yourself out, man. It's been an honor.
For sure, brother. Hey, massive pleasure being here. Let's talk about that co-main, Valentina Shevchenko taking on the Mexican boxer in Alexa Grasso. Grasso diversifies it on the feet really well. I've always loved her fights, but I don't think any striker on God's green earth is going to best Valentina Shevchenko. It's going to be a grappler. It's going to be a Blanchfield, Italia Santos rematch. So unfortunately, I think the belt stays with Shevchenko. As much as I would have loved the continued success of Mexican mixed martial artists, you know, the Brandon Moreno, the Yair Rodriguez, and this was the third opportunity to bring gold back to that country. I just don't see it occurring. Shevchenko by decision. Talk about this main event. Johnny Bones Jones returning after 3 years, up 40 pounds against one of the most elite heavyweights in the world. Moves like a middleweight, hits like an absolute tank. And I think that people are really overplaying John Jones. And now I get the historical success, youngest champion in the world at light heavyweight and the UFC overall. But like Pat, we were saying, this guy's highlights, they don't extend past 2016, 2017. So I think that the mileage has somewhat caught up to him in combat sports. He's only 35, but man, taking 3 years to try and build up to a weight class that he hasn't competed at. His offensive wrestling hasn't looked too stupendous. 2 takedowns against Dominic Reyes on 9 attempts. Listen, Reyes has got okay grappling, but fucking come on. This guy's not a defensive wizard when it comes to wrestling. And Ciryl Gane knows what he needed to do in terms of bettering his game. It was the grappling. Now, is it concerning that Francis Ngannou got him down on 4 separate occasions? 100%, man. A power puncher grounding Ciryl Gane, that frequently is concerning. But Gane wasn't prepping for that style of game plan from the Predator. So I think God knows what Jones is going to want to do, and I believe he's got the skills to negate it. I'm glad that the line isn't incredibly wide like some of the fights on tonight's card, or Saturday's card, rather, excuse me. But I do think that the Frenchman does steal the belt and bring it back to France.
Dude, that's why you're the GOAT, Bane. That's why you're the GOAT. That's why you're here. That's why I'm honored to be in your presence, man. 2 back-to-back, seamless, not missing a beat. This guy is the best, man. And
keep in mind, honestly, I lose all my DraftKings parlays. I've never had a winning night. Do not listen to me.
Does not matter.
Do not.
As long as it sounds good, my man. You sound like for all the OG fans of the UFC, you're like a younger, better looking, better sounding, more knowledgeable Mike Goldberg, honestly, the way your career is going so far. So keep it up, man. And I appreciate seeing where everything goes. We'll talk fights again soon.
Thank you,
Follow
Ben.
his YouTube, his Twitter.
Thanks,
it's all in the description.
Have a good night, fellas.
Take care, Ben.
Cheers. Yeah, that was impressive.
And then there were 3.
And there were 3. And we're moving on to another female fight here because we got Viviane Araujo taking on Amanda Ribas. Uncle Weezy's going to have his Appletini out for the Ribas fight as usual. I miss those days of the Jandaroba Ribas Appletini battles. Those were
oh man, was I wrong on that one? God damn it!
I was going to bring that. I always think about that breakdown when you just went at everybody backing Ribas. You're like, you're in for something, man. And I was with you. I was like, yeah, they're in for something. And
yeah, and that fucking first round, I was like, God damn right. And then she fell apart like a Chinese motorcycle after that, man. It was horrible.
Yeah, but 36 years old, shockingly a little up there for Viviane Araujo, but she looked very athletic in her last fight against Grasso, even in a loss against somebody who's challenging for the belt now. Over 5 rounds. So, you know, the narrative for... If you listen to the commentary, I feel like every time they're talking about Ribas' improved striking, but I really don't see it, especially defensively. I think she's very sloppy and gets hit a bunch. We just saw it against Caitlin Chookagian. And Viviane Araujo is, you know, the narrative is that she slows down into a fight. She's very powerful, fast twitch early, can slow down. I think that is true, but I'm still going to favor her to win this fight, especially at dog odds here. There's like plus 100 for Araujo, minus 120 for Amanda Ribas. I like Araujo here. I'm backing her even at, into her mid to late 30s. I think she's going to have enough, grappling to stay safe if it goes that route. She does average a lot of takedowns herself, and her striking should just be the more optically pleasing. I feel like landing more effectively. Mike, what do you think about this fight between these two? Are you on the Ribas side? Are you on the Araujo side? Do you avoiding this altogether? You like the overs, the unders?
I'm in, Pat. I'm with you. I took Viviane Araujo. I took her at plus 104 for 1 unit. And I'll tell you, I was very confident making that bet. I think she's just going to be a better striker. I think she's going to have more power behind it. And I don't really see either one getting a tremendous amount of grappling success. Just look at their numbers, right? 90% for Araujo. I think it was 88 for Ribas. So those are crazy numbers. I think we're going to be on the feet. And that's why I favor Viviane. So Viviane, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but I had John Kelly on yesterday on my show, and I respect his opinion very, very much. And he like went in on the tape for this, and he had a very passionate opinion on he's taking Ribas. So that kind of like slowed my roll, made me think about it, but I'm still good with it. I do like her here.
Yeah, I could see Amanda Ribas, like if she wins, it'll be her just being busier, her being more aggressive, just doing more, especially, and then pulling away with it the way she almost did against Chukagi in that like late flurry that they both had at the very end. I could see something like that if she's just more aggressive here. Weezy, what's your take on this one? Any action on this female fight?
Yeah, I went 1.5 units on the Araujo money line here at plus 100. I did it about a day and a half, 2 days ago. I ran the tape for this one, and look, I'm impressed by Ribas. She shut me up in the Jandiroba fight. I thought she won the Chukagian fight, but like it just came down to whether you valued the distance striking more or the grappling more in that one. And Caitlin did better work at distance. Amanda did better work on the ground. But the thing about Amanda is that the takedowns need to come from the clinch for her because she's a judo player and a very good one at that. So once you get into the clinch with Amanda, she'll hit that head and arm throw on you over and over again. And it's something that judo players will get constantly. It's not the best MMA throw, but if you get it over and over again, you know how to keep your opponent on the ground and not have your back taken. And you see what she'll do is she'll get that head and arm throw. And then what she does is when she's got you on her right arm, she will rotate the other way to get into side control, which is something that a lot of judo players do in order to start working submissions, because in judo, you don't get a lot of time to work on the ground. So Amanda knows how to get the takedown and then get into an advantageous position so that she can start hunting for submissions. But Vivi, when you watch the tape on Vivi, she's not going into the clinch. She doesn't want to be there. She wants to be at distance because she's got really good power and she's got really good volume out there too. Now, not only that, Ribas is going to be the one pressuring here. The one way that I've seen Vivi get takedowns over and over and over again, there have been 17 of them, it's reactive double leg takedowns when her opponents get reckless with pressure. So I think Vivi wins the minutes with the grappling. I think she's going to be the one getting takedowns here. And I think at distance, she's going to be the better technical striker and by far the more powerful striker. I wanted to fuck around with the KO prop and the decision prop, but then at plus 100, I was like, why do that? Because Vivi could knock out Ribas. She does not have the kind of durability that a lot of people do have at this weight class. She's been knocked out by 115 pounders. Now she's up here at 125, and Vivi swings hammers. So I think the money line for Vivi is plus money right now. It's just strange that the money's still coming in here on Ribas, but hey, I'm fine with it. I got 1.5 units at plus 100. I like Vivi in this spot.
Yeah, hey, what's up to Big Steve? Good to see you in here, brother. He does great. Yeah, he does great work as well. I'm definitely subbed, and I watch his YouTube breakdowns. Everybody go check out Big Steve. Talking about Ribas has way better volume, but not defensively responsible. Yeah, I said the same thing.
Yo, Pat, real quick plug. Me and Steve are doing PFL tomorrow. Pull up, guys.
Ooh.
So far, we've been killing it. Not to jinx anything. Knock on wood.
I like it. Yeah, check that out. That's a good. That's a good companion there for the epic weekend. Is that this weekend? Or are you breaking it down for the future?
Yeah. It's for Friday, I think. Steve is sharp as hell, bro. And he does this full time. So he knows his stuff.
Of course, Big Steve, anytime. Yeah, I got I got slightly better odds than you, Weezy. I got plus 104. It peaked for a second, so
yeah,
that's about it.
Still coming
just
in
one unit,
Ribas.
just one unit. Yeah, I'd be
usually you guys, when I throw a bet down, the market goes completely the other way. I got a big fucking swinging dick, and when I get into that market, it fucking moves. So I am shocked that my $30 bet didn't move the market, but in this case it didn't, and I'm just gonna have to be humble about it.
God damn, I'm surprised we're all on the same side of that one too. We've been on the same side of a few of these spots.
And it's a close fight, though. I mean, I think all of us go in knowing how dangerous Ribas is.
Absolutely. Just the effort and just like the ability to finish strong in the fight. And that was such a funny finishing sequence watching it back in preparation for this card, the Chukagi and Ribas, when they both knew it was kind of close. They both started screaming it out at the end, just flurrying strikes. It was amazing. They just wanted to be heard.
I think it takes all of Caitlin Chukagian's opponents about 14 minutes to actually realize that her punches don't hurt and they can just go at her and fucking swing for the fences.
Yeah,
but
and they just have
some people figure it out quicker than others. Valentina
Yeah.
figured it out.
Sure did, man. Put the
Chukagian
shutdown on that.
has been a cash train, though, man. Say what you
She's
want.
so good. No, I agree.
A cash train.
Yeah.
I remember I bet her against Antonina Shevchenko. I think she was an underdog. One of my favorite bets. Like, that was crazy.
That's a great bet, dude. That's a great bet.
Yeah, speaking of great bets up next, there's a couple of spots that stuck off the page for me in this next fight, which I can't believe is still on the prelim card. Derek Brunson versus DuPlessis, one of my most anticipated fights on this card at middleweight. And once again, Derek Brunson finds himself at 39 years old taking on one of these new up-and-coming dangerous guys at middleweight. And he's going to try to play the gatekeeper as he always does. Unsuccessful last time. It wasn't a gatekeeper fight last time against Jared Cannonier, but he didn't really look himself. He looked a little sluggish, a little awkward on the feet. Did okay in round one, but then round two, things drastically fell apart for him. He got knocked out by those brutal elbows. DuPlessis coming off of a round three submission over Darren Till in December, and it was more of a spot where like he almost finished Darren Till early in round one, couldn't quite get the job done, gassed himself out as he's done in his last couple of fights, had to dig deep into that reserve tank, get a second wind, and then he just outpaced Darren Till, and it was pretty much it was more of like a tap due to fatigue than really getting a slick submission. But either way, I gotta roll with Dricus here, but the money line is where I think it's about right. Like I think the money line was about right around like minus 200 for Dricus. Now it's gone up slightly here, so there's not a lot I can do with a minus 230 on Dricus because he could gas out. He could have one of those spots like he did against Tavares, where he did against Darren Till. What if he tries to finish Brunson early? It doesn't work, and then he finally does empty that gas tank and gets taken down in rounds 2 and rounds 3. I don't know. What I do like that is wildly mispriced on like DraftKings. The round 3 submission for Brunson is like plus 5,000. They priced it the same as the draw for the fight. So, I mean, if nothing else, just like I said, what if Dricus does empty his gas tank? What if he does end up getting mounted or something around 3? Just a flyer on that I have to take, just how wildly mispriced that was. But I think my guy Herc MMA saw that as well later, early up in the chat. But yeah, I mean, it would be funny if that completed the full circle, right? Like, because we had a round 3 submission from Brunson to Till, round 3 from Dricus to Till. Now, what if Brunson completes the circle with another round 3 submission? At plus 5,000, I'll consider it, but overall, I think it's like a early TKO for Dricus here. What do you feel about this one, Weezy?
Man, I'm loving this fight just from a stylistic perspective, but I don't have any money on it yet. I was talking with my boy Brady, and I was saying, dude, I'm really considering max betting the fight doesn't go to decision here. And I wanted to see where it opened up everywhere else, and I still haven't pulled the trigger. But I'm kind of like this guy now where once the line is minus 150, minus 160, minus 170, I'm so reluctant to lay juice that my rule is once it gets over minus 140, minus 150, ask yourself, would you max bet this? You know? And if the answer is yes, then it's a bettable line because then you really do feel like, yeah, I'm getting an edge here, right?
Yeah.
And you watch the tape, okay? Brunson is not a durable guy. He really hasn't ever been. But, dude, when Derek Brunson gets fights to the ground, he is an absolute savage. His submission game is fantastic. His ground and pound is fantastic. This guy's attempted 99 takedowns in 19 UFC fights, and I know he's had 20.
Wild. That's wild.
He's had 20. The Chris Lieben fight, which was his first fight in the UFC, isn't in my database because it happened before 2013. But 31 of 99 on takedowns. That's 31%. Okay? He's only allowed 2 takedowns. So he's out takedowning his opponents 31-2. Okay? He's winning 95% of the control time positions that he's been in. He controls his opponents on the aggregate over a 19-fight sample size and 155 minutes in the cage, 38.5% of the time. Are you kidding me? This is a guy who can absolutely win minutes and moments with his wrestling and grappling. And not only that, he's got 88% takedown defense. He's only been controlled 2.18% of the minutes that he's been in the cage. So with Dricus DuPlessis, we've seen a guy who in his 4 UFC fights has only seen 2 takedown attempts. He's going to see 2 takedown attempts in the first 60 seconds of this fight.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So how is he going to respond to that? Because this is a guy that we've seen get gassed out after 5 minutes. You see that mouth wide open. He's not breathing through his nose. He looks exhausted. There's a lot of muscle on that frame. The guy's a physical freak. He really is, and he's very strong. So Derek is gonna empty that gas tank trying to wrestle. But man, if he gets on top of him, dude, he's gonna look minus 300. Derek Brunson is so good on the ground, but we have to ask ourselves, is he going to be able to get Dricus down? That's the big question in this fight, because if he can, and if he piles up, ground control minutes, dude, you're going to be laughing with that plus 200 ticket in your hand.
Yeah,
laughing your ass off.
Those numbers that have been consistent for Derek Brunson's wrestling are just insane to listen to in total. I was actually in attendance for that fight when he made his debut against Chris Lieben, and it was sad because, it was Chris Lieben had come off of a couple of losses. He was kind of at his peak, rock bottom for his painkiller addiction too. So you're hoping man, they're giving him a debuting fighter here. Maybe this is a bounce back spot. Dude, he got taken down immediately and just held down and controlled the entire fizz. It was horrible to watch, being a fan of Chris Lieben at that point. But yeah, Mike, what are you seeing on this fight? Any action on it so far?
I've got a lot to say here, Pat. So
let's do it.
First off, I was talking about earlier, Tabitha Ricci, she pissed me off when I taped her. Dricus DuPlessis pisses me the hell off every single time I tape him. He's so talented, but what the hell is this, man? That's how he closes the distance. What are you doing? And that's exactly why I bet Darren Till, and I was very confident because I was the one thing this man does well is counter. And yeah, he countered well a few times with Darren Till, now his cut, which sadly makes sense. But another thing, fun fact, I just noticed it while looking at the stats. Both guys subbed Darren Till in round 3. But maybe fight ends in sub. Might be
that's what I was saying about the Derek Brunson round 3 sub. That would complete the full circle.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you said that, I was all in. I have Dricus parlayed. I've been trying to fade him forever, and I'm done. I'm done doing that. First of all, he has a win over the world champion of pillow fighting, Marcus Perez.
Oh yeah, right.
It's very impressive on your debut. And after that, he's got some good wins. I tried to fade him with Trevin Giles. I tried to fade him with Brad. I tried to fade him with Darren Till, and he's proven me wrong every single time. I have my concerns here, but I hopped on the train. I think that he will be able to keep it on the feet long enough to get that finish. I think he will finish. I was also pretty interested in the fight doesn't go, but I'm kind of turned off by the chalk. I don't know about it, because would I be terribly shocked if Derek Brunson out-grappled him for 3 rounds? No. And also,
that's a problem, yep.
How many people thought that this guy could never go to a decision? And then he fights Brad Tavares, and I was so confident in Brad because he's so well-rounded. Who was having more success in round 3? Everybody's saying gassing, Dricus gasses. I was one of those people. But what happened in the Brad Tavares fight? Yeah, he was looking like this.
Second wind kicked in.
But he was still doing the job, and he I think that round won it for him. So
he said it in his last fight against Darren Till when they were like, "Hey, you look like you were gassed out there," and he's like, "Dude, my gas tank goes low, but it never goes empty." He said, "So I like that." It seems really true with the way he fights. I mean, he is sloppy, but the chin of Derek Brunson just looks like it's going away, man. It really does. Every time he was on the feet against even Kevin Holland, and I know Holland hits hard, but every single time Holland would put mitts on him, man, he would be rocked and wobbling all over the place and luckily get that takedown, which he can save himself with for sure. That would be my my trepidation with hitting that over, or I'm sorry, the under, the fight doesn't go, would be what if it does go over if he just gets held down and Brunson lays on top of him. But I don't know. It's a fight where I'm on the Drika side for sure. I think Brunson is finally at that point where his chin just can't take it. His cardio doesn't look the best either, especially that fight we saw last year. So I'm on the Drika side, but since I agree with this money line, I can't really play it. I will have at least a tenth of a unit on that plus 5,000 round 3 sub.
Me too.
For any prop that we've seen somebody actually win with that method, it's the same price as the fight going to a draw. Got to take that at least for a small bit. Tenth of a unit could be 5. You know,
5.
That's awesome, dude. I've already got fat bets like that. We'll talk about a couple of them coming up here. But yeah, I mean, like Brunson's ground game is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, like, and Drickus is just a massive muscle. Guys like that, they have a really hard time getting up when they get taken down.
I'm writing this down, Pat.
Yeah. Look at on DraftKings, it's plus 5,000. On I think Bet Online it was plus 4,000.
Bet Rivers is 5,500.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are they doing?
Bet Rivers has juicy props, man.
I'll say this, guys. If you're watching this and you like my props, go hit them quick. I moved the line yesterday and then shut it down on Bet Online.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to lock it and meet with their analysts and reconfigure what was.
I'm totally joking, by the way. But anyways, let's continue.
All right, the prelim headliner. We've got the bantamweight return of Cody Garbrandt taking on Trevin 5-Star Jones. One of the biggest step downs in competition you'll ever see in this sport. Guys that have reached championship level like Cody Garbrandt now taking on a guy in Trevin Jones who's had mixed success against guys that are making their debut. Good fighters like Rakhmonov, good fighters like Timur Valiev, good fighters like Basharat he fought. So not the worst.
Barcelos too.
But how many Barcelos I could have forget? And that guy just completely mopped the floor with him. But he did have success counter striking off of his back foot against Mario Batista. Could that happen against Garbrandt? It's possible. I'm not on the team I'm not on this narrative team that Cody Garbrandt's chin is completely compromised. I'm not sure if that's true or not. That might be just a factor of him fighting like, just brawling, fighting like he's a heavyweight at this weight class for way too long, and it finally caught up with him. He's not using his full set of skills in the octagon. And then when he chooses to do so and be more disciplined, he tends to be a little bit more hesitant, a little gun shy. You see that with these wild strikers. So I'm actually on the Garbrandt side. I think he's the more skilled fighter. I don't have any cash in this fight, but I like him to win by decision, like the plus 450 Garbrandt by decision. Not looking too bad if you consider this might be a low output affair on both guys' side. This could just be a spot where even a low volume Garbrandt could outpoint Trevin Jones and just avoid that power shot. Not something I'm probably going to get behind, but that's the way I would see this playing out. Weezy, what do you think about this fight? Does Cody Garbrandt get knocked out here?
I don't know, man, but I agree with your assessment of this fight. That Trevin Jones is very low volume. He's terrible at distance. He lands 2.79 at distance, but absorbs 5.71 per minute. That's significant distance strikes per minute at distance. And, Garbrandt's not much better. He's got 3 significant strikes landed. He absorbs 4. Both of these guys throw less volume than their opponents do. But the difference is that Garbrandt's got 10 UFC knockdowns. 10. This guy, he's never won a fight when he didn't get a knockdown. How about that? But this is a fight where Trevin Jones, in Trevin Jones, you have just like a prolific minute loser. This guy has won 2 fights in the UFC, right? And in those fights, he's getting his ass whooped up until he lands a big right hook in both of them with his lead right hand. And then the other 3 fights, he gets mopped up by Basharat, he gets mopped up by Barcelos, and he has a close fight with Rakhmonov where there's a lot of clinch wrestling going on, but then Rakhmonov locks up a choke late in that fight. So, he's a minute loser, and I think that Cody Garbrandt doesn't have to engage in the kind of fight where he's going to get knocked out here. So I think Cody Garbrandt wins this one by decision, actually, but I wouldn't bet it because Cody does have legit power, and he could absolutely spark Trevin Jones and finish this one by knockout as well. And I'm not laying minus 170 on a guy, who's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights, whose career is in jeopardy, to be honest with you, and who's got a very suspect chin.
Is this the sort of like the at least fight schedule, fight results as of lately? Is this like the Dontel Mays, Augusto Sakai fight of the week? Where you've got Cody Garbrandt looking like his chin is gone on a string of losses, but the better resume overall, right? The better experience against Trevin Jones, who people are kind of taking the dog shot on here, and hoping that his opponent's just kind of washed at this point. What do you got on this fight, Mike? I know you're playing this, you degenerate. What do you got?
Of course I'm playing it. I have some things to say. I mean, one thing to mention with the Trevin Jones, the Rakhmonov fight, Rakhmonov was on super short notice. He was literally told 1 week before, and he was like in a different country and had to fly over here, fight Trevin Jones, still beat him. I love Rakhmonov. I'm so sad he's cut. But back to this. Like Trevin Jones, like I learned my lesson with William Knight. What was it, 2 weeks ago? I don't like betting counter strikers who don't throw anything. And somehow I convinced myself onto William Knight, and it bit me in the ass because you should not bet on low volume counter strikers because you're just waiting for the KO. If you're gonna play it by KO. It's like betting Derek Lewis. Are you gonna bet his money line? No, just bet his knockout. Yeah. So if you're gonna do it with Trevin Jones, do that. But I was staring at this line for so long, and like, of course, like everybody else, I've got concerns about the chin, but it's against good opposition, and you're just looking at the line and like Cody Garbrandt minus 170 against Trevin Jones. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you'd really have to be banking on the fact that he's compromised, health-wise.
Yeah, it's crazy. I totally understand that the knockout's there, but that's why I'm saying play the knockout. The money line doesn't make any sense. So I did parlay him with Ian Garry. That's 1 unit. Now, yesterday with John, I was talking about with my show, casual plug. He totally talked me onto this anti-violence for this fight, and he had really great points. First of all, the low volume of Trevin Jones, right? Constantly looking to counter-strike. And Garbrandt, is he really going to be rushing in here again, chin up? I really don't think so. And I mean, he went 5 rounds with Rob Font. Rob Font, not the biggest power puncher, but those punches add up, and I think he landed just under 200 of them. So I think that Cody's going to go relatively slow to open it up. I think that Trevin Jones is not going to do anything the whole fight. Garbrandt likes to circle a lot. I just think we're going to get extended. John bet over 2.5. I do not have the balls for that. I went with the over 1.5. It was minus 131 on DraftKings.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I pulled a little degenerate move. I attached the bull nickel under 2.5 at minus 750. So that gave me minus 100. I've never even seen
minus 750.
That's given me minus 100 for 1 unit. And I did play the Garbrandt by decision. I got that at plus 500 on FanDuel. I played that for a quarter unit too.
Yeah, it's just the problem is it's like it will. My question is, will Garbrandt think that this is like, will he recognize this is a huge step down, and will he then be like, well, now I've got to, I'm not fighting a ranked guy anymore. Like this guy probably doesn't offer much to me. I'll get in a firefight and just come out the victor of it as I usually do. Or will he go in there like the Rob Font, where I thought he looked very, very technical in that fight. It was just a better boxer overall than Rob Font. So that's my question here. But I do like that over 1.5 at minus 125. You can always talk me on it to an over in this weight class at that line.
Throw the bull nickel under it too.
Yeah, and Herc saying, Cody better fucking wrestle here. Hey, I mean, he might. Weezy, what's the chances he wrestles in this fight? I know he was shooting takedowns on Rob Font, but that's the only time I remember him doing that in recent memory.
Yeah, I think that he also shot takedowns against Kai Kara France. He got 1 or 2. He shot some. I think that Cody, if he's smart, because Cody's only 31 years old, you guys. 31.
That's wild.
Yeah. You would think that the guy is 35, 36, 37, the way people are talking about him right now. He's a former champion. He's got serious power in his hands. He's got something that you absolutely have to have in this division, and that's speed. He's got legitimate speed. I mean, like this guy, his hands, that performance against Dominic Cruz back in the day, I remember my jaw just being on the floor in that.
Yeah, because we all thought he would have to knock him out to win, right?
Right.
We all thought he'd have to knock him out, and he won by.
And he was winning all the minutes, and he was talking shit, and he was in and out, and he did every. I mean, like he Dominic Cruz And I couldn't believe what he was doing in that fight.
It was shocking.
So yeah, this has got to be Cody. It's got to be Cody. But you just kind of have to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I've lost bets before. If Cody gets sparked by a lead right hook, he gets sparked by a lead right hook. But when do I ever get a former champion against Trevin Jones at minus 170? And I think that if Cody wants to reinvent himself, like Derek Brunson reinvented himself. We saw Derek Brunson spark and hose in the first round, like not wrestling at all, just, relying on his power and relying on his chin. And then he realized after a minute when he lost 4 out of 6 fights, he was like, oh, I hate waking up in the hospital. I
feel like all the wrestlers have that like full circle moment, right? Where it's like they wrestle to get to the big stage. They get that one knockout and they start going after knockouts. And they're like losing fights and they got to go back to the wrestling to end their career.
That's right.
It's like the full circle.
Hendricks, right? Even Damian Maia fell in love with his hands. Renato Moicano said famously, I fell in love with the box.
Evans,
which means something different in the United States than it does in Brazil, but it's still, he was talking about how he was like, why the hell am I not grappling? Because he won a striking match against Calvin Kattar, and then he lied to himself and he's like, I'm a striker now. No, man, you're still a great grappler. That's how you win fights. So I think that Cody could reinvent himself because he is a legitimate wrestler. He's got a wrestling background. He trains with wrestlers. He could actually, in this fight against a guy with 66% takedown defense, a guy who's losing, 43% of the control time positions that he's in, despite the fact that he's attempted 6 more takedowns than his opponents have. I think that Cody can mix in the wrestling here. I think that he can win the minutes at range. I think it's a very safe money line bet, but Trevin could land that lead right hook and it could change this fight, but Cody could do the same thing. I mean, Cody's more powerful than Trevin Jones is, okay? Trevin Jones has got 5 UFC fights in 57 minutes in the cage. Cody Garbrandt's got 12 UFC fights and 117 minutes in the cage. Cody Garbrandt is landing a knockdown on 3% of the significant strikes that he lands as a bantamweight. Now, for Trevin Jones, it's 1.9%, which is also very impressive. But imagine Trevin Jones fighting 7 more fights in the UFC and getting even more knockdowns than he has already. He'd probably be on his way to the title, right? But he's fighting a guy who's already done that shit. So everyone's like, Cody's chin is done. You got to go Trevin here. Well, guess what? Cody's been knocking dudes out for a very long time and very consistently over a very large sample size, even more than Trevin Jones has.
It's such a fun fight, man. It's such a fun fight. I can't wait for this one. It's headlining the prelims for a reason, man. Like this is a high profile spot. And I know Trevin Jones is on slight short notice, maybe the past month or so, right? It was supposed to be Arche. So yeah, I don't know. This is it's a good spot for Trevin Jones to really get a feather in his cap as well. And I've always been a big fan of Trevin Jones ever since he made his short notice debut and got that upset. Love those dogs coming through out of nowhere like that. But man, we did it, guys. We made it through the prelims. All 33 of you guys in the live chat, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Subscribe to my co-host CouchWarrior podcast if you have not already. Drops amazing content and, of course, the regional scene stuff that I don't drop. He's over there doing tape study nonstop. I don't know how he does it. The guy must never sleep. Uncle Weezy, king of the stats. His Patreon is also linked in the description as well. I'm a big fan of that. I can give the testimonials now how useful that is. And for who joined us in the prelims, Ben the Bane Davis, his links are in the description as well. So let's move on to the main card here. We got Jamie Pickett taking on Bo Nickal, the long-awaited debut of Bo Nickal after not 1 but 2 successful Dana White Contender Series appearances. One of the best athletes in the country, pound for pound, weight for weight, sport for sport, 27 years old, now grappling in tournaments as well. And, dude, Jamie Pickett is one of the worst guys in the roster. Let's not get it twisted. But he is one of the more experienced guys that Bo Nickal's ever fought before. So a minus 2,000 Bo Nickal, I mean, I don't disagree with it, plus 1,000 on Jamie Pickett. But, I mean, goddamn, how do you even attack this from a betting perspective besides playing some sort of Bo Nickal like in round one, under half of a round. Bo Nickal by submission is the nicest thing I saw. It's like minus 130, minus 125. I thought that was pretty crazy, right? Because he's been wrapping up submissions with the quickness. So, Mike, what do you got on this fight? I know you mentioned you had some things parlayed to it, so kick us off.
Oh, I mean, if I listed the parlays where I have violence parlay to it, I'd be going on all night.
Well, I mean, like, what's the main thing that you've got tied to the Bo Nickal side of things or the Jamie Pickett unders?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, what I'm using as a parlay leg, obviously I'm not going to do minus 2,000 on him, but I was doing him by inside the distance. I think it was like minus 650. And then I realized, I was like, wait, you're mad dumb. Look at the under 2.5. It was minus 750. So I said, screw it. I'll just do that. Parlayed that up a bit.
Okay.
I just feel very confident in him. I mean, how could you not? I doubted him a tiny bit in the Contender Series, and I shut up right away. And I'll say this. He fought Donovan Beard the second time. I would bet Donovan Beard against Jamie Pickett fairly confidently. I think he's a much better fighter, and he made him look like nothing. My favorite thing that I'm playing here is the prop. I took Bo Nickal by KO in round one, killed the line movement there. It's at plus 275 now. I don't know about that, but I hit plus 500, took that for a quarter unit, and I put up my logic on Twitter. I think this fight ends in round one at an extremely high clip. And I think that Bo Nickal could win it however he wants. If he wants to strike, if he wants to hit ground and pound, he can get it. If he wants to go for a sub, he'll get it. So if I think it's going to be up to him and he can do either one, why not take the plus 500 instead of the minus 110 or whatever that everybody's putting 3 units on? Yeah, it makes sense, but you're going to put 3 units and then you're going to be so pissed off when he gets a ground and pound TKO instead of locking up a choke. So I'd rather play it that way. And obviously I got him parlayed, but that's it.
Yeah, it's tough when you know that the fight's going to hit the mat immediately. He might just advance to mount or something. And then it's that 50-50, right? Where he's going to punch him in the face. Jamie Pickett turns over to avoid those strikes, gives up his neck. Or is it vice versa? Does he fight off the choke and then just get stopped by strikes? It's always that game that we play. It's kind of like with, what's his face? Gelton Almeida. And that's always like the game you play with him. Is he going to just hammer fist Danilo Marquez with the TKO? Or is he going to, flip him over and get that rear naked choke? I see Tajik Bey in the chat with the Bo Nickal in round 2. Weezy, how does that happen? How would this play out to get us to a round 2 for Bo Nickal?
Well, I mean, it's an MMA fight. Anything can happen. We still need to find out a little bit more about Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal's professional career is longer, it's actually shorter than some people's sex that they had the first time in their life. There have been, like 16-year-olds that have fucked longer than Bo Nickal has been in 3 professional fights. 2.45 minutes. I mean, that's how long it's taken this guy to dust 3 dudes. So, and then the pedigree is there. And the best base for MMA is wrestling. And Bo Nickal has got that in spades. And then when you watched him in the Beard fight, like the striking, it looked good. It looked straight. It looked technical. It looked like it had some power behind it. So, yeah, I mean, this guy, and you're getting him at a bargain, I'll have you know, because he was minus 3,500 against Donovan Beard, and he was minus like 4,800 against Zach Borrego. So at minus 2,000, you should be like running to the window and like, yes, 20 units to win 1. No. Don't do that. I'm not betting this fight. I'm just going to enjoy the fact that this kid is making his UFC debut, and I get to see him in the UFC fighting the right level of competition, the level of competition he deserves to be in there against. And it's going to start with Jamie Pickett. He's going to shave Jamie Pickett's ass in 3 to 4 minutes probably, but it might take 8 minutes. It might take 8 seconds. But Bo's the much better fighter here, and I can't wait to see him make his debut. But when the line is this juiced, I just think it's always best to just sit back, let everybody else decide how they think the fight's going to take place, and just enjoy the performance that Bo Nickal's going to put on.
That's probably where I'm going to be with this. Shout out to my guy Cucumber in the chat as well, betting Cody in a parlay, but he scares me to death. I can't agree more on that last fight that we covered. Good to see you in here, my friend. And a guy who loves beer as well, laughing, I think, at Uncle Weezy's estimation of how long some of these teenagers are lasting these days. But the only way that I could see like playing this fight with any sort of like getting some value on it is, I mean, going on DraftKings and doing like the intervals per minute, where it's like fight to end in like 0 seconds to 1 minute is like plus 300, like 1 minute. I think I'm going to do like the 2 minute to 2.5 minute or like 2 minute to 3 minute interval, because I'm going to give Jamie Pickett the benefit of the doubt to get that extra 60 seconds that Donovan Beard did not. I think maybe Bo Nickal, taking the crowd, try not to trip over himself and make an ass of himself, because if he rushes in there and tries to take down Jamie Pickett and like sprain something, like that would be the worst thing in the world. And that's what you're thinking about when you have a minus 2,000. That Black Swan event needs to at least account for like 5% of the implied odds. So yeah, it'll be a tough run if he tries to go in there full speed ahead, Contender Series style, and then something horrible happens. He gets George Masvidal or something by Jamie Pickett. So. But yeah, I mean, Bo Nickal, like the one thing about him is his speed. He's so goddamn fast. He's going to have this fight to the mat pretty much whenever he wants to. So I like the take that Marquez. I like him playing the contrarian, getting the TKO instead of the submission we're all seeming to be on now. I do like that, but overall, I think he does grab a neck and chokes Jamie Pickett out, but we can move on. That's a very exciting fight. I love seeing guys that are like on that Brock Lesnar level of stardom with their wrestling, where they're 3 fights in and they're already on a pay-per-view main card. That's pretty awesome to see.
Brock and Kane.
Yeah, Kane, exactly. Yeah, Kane was he made it all the way to the championship in just under 10 fights, I want to say.
Yeah, and I think he came into the UFC with like 2 fights on his record or 3 fights, and he was already like nobody wanted to sign the contract.
And he was a guy who started using his striking instead. Like nobody, he was just the cardio and the striking. Yeah,
what
epic.
An incredible fighter.
Amazing, man. And speaking of freaks, genetic freaks, we got Jalen Turner up next at lightweight taking on Mateusz Gamrot. This is about a month's short notice matchup here. Jalen Turner was about to have a very favorable matchup, I thought, in Dan Hooker, a fellow striker. Now he's getting Mateusz Gamrot, who's a Polish champion in submission wrestling, KSW champ. And this guy's coming off of a really surprising loss to me. I know Beneil Dariush is good, but I had really underestimated how good he was, especially shutting down all the takedown attempts of Mateusz Gamrot. And he takes down people pretty much, just by yanking out their ankle from underneath them. He attempts that over and over again. Jalen Turner has struggled in one of his bouts against Fervola that way, but his striking is on a different level. His club and sub ability is really good for the 27-year-old Turner, who's just a massive frame for 155. Like even guys like Malarkey who are big, he looked like a midget compared to Jalen Turner when he got in there with him. So it's we're going to see just how good Jalen Turner is, but he is a sizable underdog at plus 180, even on short notice. Mateusz Gamrot about a minus 210 favorite. I'm on the Gamrot side. I think it's just a bad matchup for Turner. I think he will get this fight to the mat. I don't know if he finishes the fight, though. So are one of you guys on Jalen Turner? I'll kick it off to you, Mike. Are you on the dog here?
Nope. I'm on the favorite here. I like Gamrot. Look, to me, excuse me. To me, I think people are just like, I think this is recency bias. Gamrot coming off a loss. Turner looking amazing in his like last, 4 or 5 fights. But I think the line could have even been wider. I think that, Turner will probably be better on the feet. He's got such a big height and reach advantage. It's hard to deny it. And he's really good on the feet. But I don't think Gamrot's bad on the feet either. Like, I think he could strike. And I also think he's not going to have to. I think he is going to get those takedowns. Like, people are kind of acting like Turner has this amazing takedown defense. Got taken down by Brock Weaver. He got taken down by Jamie Malarkey and actually controlled a bit. You're telling me that Gamrot can't get him down and control him? I don't believe that. And then look at the guys they're fighting. Like, it's not even close. Gamrot, Beneil Dariush, Sarukian, Diego Ferreira, Jeremy Stevens, and Holtzman. All right, it drops off a bit towards the end. But Brad Riddell, Malarkey, Medic, Weaver, and Kulabau, it's not the same. It's just not the same level. I think that Gamrot wins this fight. I took him at minus 174 for 2 units. I don't love this line as much, but like I said, I think it could be wider, so I think there's still something to play there. I really like Gamrot here.
Yeah, before the weekend, usually over the weekend is like when the UFC event is going, I'm kind of looking at the lines for the upcoming week because they change drastically right after that event ends. I got that minus 175 on Gamrot for a couple units on that, 2 units. So, Weezy, who are you liking in this bout? Jalen Turner's been impressive, man. Does the short notice factor I know it's always going to, hinder the guy who's come in here on short notice, but I feel like it could also go against Jalen Turner, not knowing he had to compete against a wrestler in this matchup. What do you think about this bout on short notice?
Yeah, it's different for Turner because he was supposed to fight Hooker. But, the thing about Turner is that I kind of feel like, we were talking about John Jones earlier, and I kind of feel like Jalen Turner is kind of like a John Jones in this weight class. He's got freakish athletic ability, freakish size, and freakish power, and freakish volume at range, right? Gamrot at this particular line, I think that if you're betting Gamrot, you're either thinking that this guy is going to submit, Turner when he gets him down, but you have to kind of feel like he's going to get 12 to 13 minutes of control time here, because Jalen Turner on the feet is something that I don't think anybody in the weight class right now is equipped to deal with. Anybody at a 155 is ill-equipped to deal with what Jalen Turner brings on the feet, because he's got a 77-inch reach, okay? Because this guy's already got 18 fights as a professional, but he's only 27 years old, okay? Mateus Gamrot's pushing 33 right now. Mateus does absolutely commit to the wrestling, and his numbers are very impressive. He's only been in the UFC cage for 70 minutes, and he's attempted 70 takedowns, right? That's
wild.
That's a tremendous, commitment to the wrestling, and that's why he's the favorite in this fight. However, there's a big problem in the stats. And yes, Jalen Turner is not Dariush. He is not Sarukian. He is not Ferreira, okay? He's not those guys. But Mateus Gamrot, despite the fact that he attempts 1 takedown per minute, gets 4.66 takedowns per 15 minutes, is spending less than 25% of his fights in control time positions, okay? So here's my read on that. 75% of 15 minutes is like it's 7.5 and 3.75, so it's 11.25 minutes. If this fight is on the feet for 11.25 minutes, Gamrot's fucked in 4.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, it's,
absolutely no. He's fucked in 4.
It would have to be like
Brad Riddell was fucked in 20 seconds. This guy Turner is still only 27 years old. The people that are going back and watching that Matt Frivola fight are watching a 4-year-old fight. They're watching a 23-year-old Jalen Turner. And even in that fight, Frivola controlled Turner less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it would have to be with the striking success.
Nobody in this weight class is equipped to deal with what Jalen Turner brings on the
feet. For me, I think it's like the phenomenon you see with the strikers, though, where it's like their weapons are limited when they're guessing about, like, am I going to get taken down this time? Is this the time? It's like that suppressed volume is usually what I'm going off of. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Turner is something special, and I can't wait for this fight to see just how special he is against the step up in competition for sure. And I almost like this more, like, not for Jalen Turner's sake than Dan Hooker, because that would have been fun to see that bout, but the fact that he is being challenged here a little bit stylistically, it does mean a lot on a big card too. And they keep on putting Jalen Turner on these pay-per-views too, in his career, for good reason, right? Because he was on the one with Adesanya and Cannonier. I think he was on the Covington Masvidal card as well. So they're taking advantage of how exciting this guy is.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that I've got 1 unit on Jalen Turner at plus 190 on the money line. And I've got 2 units on the Jalen Turner finish only prop, because he's got a 100% finish rate. And I kind of feel like, Gamrot's path to victory here is to wrestle, and he might get a submission, but I kind of feel like if somebody's finishing this fight, it's Jalen Turner. So, at plus 150-ish is where I aggregated those 2 1-unit bets. I'm balls deep on the Jalen Turner bets this week. And I think that he's going to open some eyes on Saturday.
I can't hate it for as talented as he is, the stats, the measurables, and the plus money you get on him at this point. Mike, how do you see this fight like finishing? Because we're both on the Gamrot side. I think it's a decision, which would make Jalen Turner 0-3 in decision results overall at this point. I think it's going to be one of those cases where Jalen Turner looks very, very impressive, and we still take him. He still gets the respect on his next money line, but in a loss, in a decision loss that was close, it might have to weigh control time and damage on both sides. Mike, how do you see this one? Do you think it's going to be a submission win for Gamrot, a knockout win for Gamrot?
I think Gamrot's just going to grind him out for a decision. Personally,
Yeah.
Weezy's stats are very convincing, but
They are.
The one thing I'll say is that he's getting those not great control numbers against guys like Dariush, Sarukian, Ferreira, guys who are very good counter grapplers, especially Dariush and Sarukian. But like Weezy also said, Turner was very young when he was getting out grappled, and he's rapidly improving. Like, I've been on him. He's been a money train for me. I think we got him like even money against Uros Medic, something like that. I think he was like an underdog to Brad Riddell at one point. It's been a money train, but here I had to hop off. Do I think Gamrot can get a finish? Honestly, I'm leaning no. I think he's going to get the decision, and that's how I think he's going to win the fight. But I think, Weezy, you brought it up, right? Decision, no action for Turner. I think that's a decent look, too.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic look. I got 2 units on it. The guy is just an absolute savage.
What was the odds, Weezy?
I got plus 168 on FanDuel, and they had opened it after I had bet it on Bet Online at plus 130. And I heard it was plus 160 on DraftKings. I checked DraftKings 4 times that day. I just got the swirling icon every time I clicked on the finish only props. And then I found out I bet it at plus 130 because I'm like, you know what? It's not going to be better than plus 130. And then Brady's like, I see plus 160. And I was like, fuck, but I wound up betting it. When I saw plus 168, I was like, you know what? I'm going 2 units here because I don't think that Gamrot finishes him. I mean, he could. He absolutely could. Jalen Turner does not have great striking defense at range. And, Gamrot can submit anybody. So I like the fight doesn't go to decision here. And I also like, the Turner finish only prop.
Yeah, man, it's going to be an exciting one, as is this next fight up at 170. We got the undefeated 16-0 Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Jeff Neal, power striker at 170, coming off of Jeff Neal's most impressive win. I believe the most impressive win in his career so far against Vicente Luque, which I think he was the first man to finish Vicente Luque with that rapid series of uppercuts against the cage that finally put the guy out cold. But my God, Shavkat is just a whole different animal, just so well-rounded everywhere, measured. And for 100% finish rate, 8 knockouts, 8 submissions, he's not really like in a hurry to get the job done. It just sort of happens over the course of a fight. He never really applies submissions he doesn't think is going to happen for sure. The guillotines, he kind of just tickles the neck until he knows it's about to hit. Then he squeezes 100% and gets the guy out of there. But the problem is kind of like with the Jessica Penne fight at Tabitha Ricci, where this was scheduled already earlier in the year. We were getting like I had put down a lot of money on the minus 300 or minus 350 for Shavkat. Now they reopen it. They saw where all of our money went, and now it's minus 500 for Shavkat. So a tough go of it there. But I am heavily on the Rakhmonov side. I think at 28 years old, a big physique for 170, even against Jeff Neal, who it's surprising that Jeff Neal's at plus 375. I just think Jeff Neal is kind of finish or bust here. So if you're on that side, maybe take him by finish. But Rakhmonov, I think, gets an inside the distance victory here. Probably another submission. Weezy, what do you think about this fight in general? Are you on the dog on this one?
Can't wait for this fight. Because Rakhmonov is about as clean of a prospect as you could possibly have. For the welterweight weight class, he's huge and he's long. His ground and pound is probably the best that I've ever seen, ever. I mean, like when this guy gets above somebody and starts landing shit, he's knocking people out. That Carlston Harris fight, if you watch that fight, he clips Carlston Harris with that spinning hook kick. But Harris is off balance. He goes to the ground because he's off balance. But Shavkat pounces on him. Harris is completely there. And then 5 seconds later, he is in the shadow realm as a result of Shavkat's ground and pound, right? Shavkat's guillotine is ridiculously good. Shavkat's submission grappling as a whole is there. The guy's conditioning is probably 9 or 10 out of 10. And we've seen him put in positions where he was knocked out cold and recovered and won in the third round in the Faradun Odilov fight. So I always tell people, in order to understand who Shavkat is as a mixed martial artist, you have to watch that fight, because you see that he can face adversity. He does have that X factor of being able to, important, overcome adversity, to just be that guy that's 16-0. At 16-0, you know that things don't always go your way in this sport, but it's how you respond to adversity. And Shavkat can absolutely do that. So he is absolutely a complete prospect. He's still only 28 years old. He's got everything that he needs for his game. But Jeff Neal is coming for him on Saturday, and he's better than the guys that he's beaten. And everybody is using – see, these are the things that piss me off, right?
I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this already.
Okay, because I hear it all the fucking time. MMA math doesn't work. Well, okay, if MMA math doesn't work and Shavkat whooped Neal Magny's ass and Jeff Neal lost to Neal Magny's ass, well, then Jeff Neal should be minus 250 if MMA math doesn't work, right? Because, if it doesn't work, well, then that doesn't mean anything. But here's the problem. Jeff Neal was on his deathbed before the Neal Magny fight. Jeff Neal was almost dead. Like, his doctors had told him, like, look, son, you're never fighting again. This heart condition, this sepsis that he went through, it was a tooth. I mean, like, it was heart and sepsis, something really, really bad. That was the worst version that we've ever seen of Jeff Neal. Prior to that fight, the Stephen Thompson fight going backwards, right? Jeff Neal was landing a knockdown on over 3% of the significant strikes that he was landing. And we saw the return of that Jeff Neal against Vicente Luque. If that's not Vicente Luque, if that's literally anybody at the 170-pound weight class but Vicente Luque, that's a first-round knockout.
Yeah, that would have ended far sooner, for sure.
Dude, he dropped him, I think, 3 times. I think they only gave him credit for 2. But the shots that he was landing with that straight left hand, it was like a piston right down the middle, fast, clean, powerful. Shavkat's never seen anything like that, you guys. That's not Carlston Harris. That's not Neal Magny. That's definitely not Michelle Prazeres or Alex Oliveira with his 17 children, showing up for a paycheck. This is Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal just whooped Vicente Luque's ass. So at the current line, minus 500 Shavkat, plus 375 Jeff Neal, this is what I did. I said, I think Jeff Neal's live. On FanDuel, they're doing some bonkers shit. They got Jeff Neal by decision at plus 1,000. They got Jeff Neal by knockout at plus 1,000.
Oh my
Guess
God.
who put a half unit on each of those?
Good Lord.
Guess
really?
who's going to be up 4.5 units if Shavkat winds up sleeping or winds up not getting the best of the striking exchanges in this fight? Or when he realizes that he might not be the better striker in this fight, which I promise you is a possibility. It's not just a 10% possibility or a 25% possibility. It's a 40 to a 50% possibility because Jeff Neal is very, very good on the feet. What if Shavkat can't take down Jeff Neal, who's got 88% takedown defense and over his 9 UFC fights and 100 minutes in the cage has been controlled for less than 4 minutes of his UFC cage time? How does this look then? So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for Jeff Neal to shock the world. If he doesn't, I'm out 1 unit. If he does, I'm up 4.5.
I just pulled up FanDuel. It's still up there. Jeff Neal by knockout, plus 1,000. Jeff Neal by decision, plus 1,000. My goodness. Mike, what do you got on this fight? Who do you like here? Any props on this fight? This is that's crazy. I might have to hedge with that because I am on the. I've got Shavkat like in a chalk parlay with one of the next fights we'll talk about on the card. But Yeah, good God. I mean, if he doesn't get the fight to the mat, it's trouble for sure. It's trouble. But that plus, I didn't think you'd get props like that on Jeff Neal. That's crazy because that's really his path. Then they have both of the paths, in the equal in the equal value.
Yeah, I mean, so I lost money on Luque. I was totally confident that he was going to finish Jeff Neal, at least beat him, and that never happened. But look, first of all, we've been seeing it on Twitter, the size differences here. Neal Magny is listed as 6'3". Shavkat's listed as 6'1". But Shavkat was the one who was taller than Neal Magny at their face-off. And then you look at the Neal Magny Jeff Neal face-off, and Neal Magny significantly bigger than him. So I think the size here is going to be a huge, huge thing. Because Jeff Neal, yeah, he's got that 88% takedown defense. But, like, first of all, who's he fighting that wrestles really? He fought Bilal, and he did really well against Bilal. And he fought Neal Magny, and he did very well in the takedown defense there too. But neither of them have the physicality of Shavkat Rakhmonov. It's not even similar in my opinion. So I think Shavkat's going to shoot. I agree with Weezy that on the feet, it's most probably Neal. I think that Shavkat could land harder, like with the moments, maybe another spinning back kick thing. But no, on the feet, I like Jeff Neal. I just think it's not going to be there for long. And I think Shavkat does win ITD. I played him inside the distance. Let me tell you, minus 155. I put 1.6 units on it. I like that quite a bit. I do think he finishes. Will I be shocked if he doesn't? No, Jeff Neal's tough as a nail, and he's proven me wrong more than once now. But I do think he gets the finish.
You guys think about the over under 1.5? Like, do you think this goes under 1.5, or do you think it does edge over? I kind of lean over in this one, right? Just because of how even though, like I mentioned at the top, how 100% finish rate for Rakhmonov, but he's never like in a hurry. He's not fighting like he's double parked, as you say, Weezy. I mean, he really is technical. And if Jeff Neal plays a solid defense or has really good offense that gains the respect, this could very well go into the later parts of round 2 at least.
Agreed there, because Shavkat's never been in a hurry because he always finds the finish. Always finds the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Oliveira fight, he was getting controlled up against the cage for 2.5 minutes. And he was like, maybe I'll try a guillotine. It was over that quickly. I mean, I get why people are on Shavkat. This guy is absolutely special.
Yeah, when you're just looking at like a picks of who wins, obviously it's easy to see why you would choose Shavkat. But when you got those juicy prop odds that you discovered on FanDuel there, yeah, I might have to hedge on one of those. That's brilliant, dude. Plus 1,000 each way. I like that quite a bit. But and it is unfortunate that we didn't get that fight earlier in the year where the money line hadn't blown up. The bookies didn't get all of our action.
I also bet that one. Minus 350. I put whatever I could on it because I was like, I really like this line.
Because it was during the break.
Yeah, that's moving. Yeah. And that's what you got to do. Like, I got Barriault earlier in the week at minus 130, and I was just like, I hadn't even taped the fight yet, but I was like, I see where this is going. I see where this is going. He's going to wind up minus 175, and if I don't like what I see on tape, I can hedge out for the, even or even make a little bit of money if I don't like it.
Yeah, precisely.
I'll be talking about hedges a little bit later. I'm considering one.
Okay, all right. Well, we got the first of 2 championship bouts on this card. We have Valentina Shevchenko, 7 title defenses at flyweight, taking on Alexa Grasso, trying to beat, I think, the first Mexican female champion. Is that right? Technically, actually from Mexico. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, 15-3, very good hands, very good boxing, only 29 years old for Grasso, coming off of that very decisive. It was competitive, but it was a very decisive win for her over 5 rounds, which she headlined the card in the fall against Viviane Araujo. Shevchenko, minus 650 favorite, and she was the closest we saw to getting dethroned in her reign so far, looking unstoppable. And then Taila Santos, man, looked like the stronger woman in the clinch. Capitalized on some botched takedown attempts of Shevchenko, ended up on top position in round 1, almost sank in the submission. And then it was that repeated success of the grappling, like the next few rounds. So Shevchenko finishing strong, capitalizing on that swollen eye of Taila Santos. So I feel like there's a little bit of like an aura that like maybe Grasso can finish off what Taila Santos, started last time, but it's a whole different skill set here. You're not getting the strength in the grappling that Taila Santos had. You're not getting the size. You're getting a fellow striker in Grasso as her best attribute. And I don't think she's going to be able to outstrike Valentina Shevchenko, who's just got so many weapons, so many looks, so many ways to just kind of stand there and just wait for you to engage her and make a mistake. And she counter strikes in combination and can also do grappling of her own. So I got to say, Shevchenko looks like a pretty easy pick here. And I do have her parlayed with the last fight we talked about with Rakhmonov. So that's the chalk parlay I do have. But is there a path for Grasso here, Weezy? Like, what would it take? She would have to stuff every takedown that comes her way.
Yeah, she's got to stuff takedowns, and she's got to throw a lot more volume than Valentina. She's got to figure out a way to be busy while Valentina waits to counter, and she's got to land the bigger shots, So that's a very tall order because Valentina is a very patient striker. She loves to counter. She's extremely low volume. I mean, for a champion in the women's weight classes, to throw less than 9 distance strikes per minute is terribly low volume. But what's hilarious about that is, as low volume as Valentina is, she sucks her opponent into the exact same game, and she makes them so nervous to throw that Valentina actually throws more. She only thrown 8.5 distance strike attempts per minute at distance. Her opponents are only throwing 8.06. And then in addition to that, Valentina is landing about 3.8, and her opponents are landing 2.55. So she throws just a little bit more volume. She lands a lot more than her opponents, and she's got a little bit of power too. She's got a couple of knockdowns while her opponents have never knocked her down. In addition to that, you see Alexa Grasso. She's got 4 takedowns in 10 UFC fights. Valentina Shevchenko's got 41 takedowns in 14 UFC fights. So only 4 more fights than Alexa, but she's got 37 more takedowns. And yet, Valentina, even though she's fought more, she's actually given up 7 less takedowns than Alexa has, right? So you got 64.5% takedown defense for Alexa, 71% takedown defense for Valentina. But Valentina's getting her takedowns at a 64% clip, and she's winning like almost 2/3 of the control time positions that she's been in. So, yeah, I mean, and obviously she's faced and beaten the much better brand of competition as well. So, yeah, it's Valentina Shevchenko. There is a path for Grasso if she stops takedowns, if she keeps this fight at range, and if she's busier, and maybe even pressures Valentina. She could win some minutes in the striking here. I don't see why not, but it's Valentina's grappling threat that really worries me here, and the fact that she seems to be the more powerful striker, the more natural flyweight.
Yeah, it's the last fight against Santos was shocking, not only because she, made a mistake in round 1. It seemed like a mistake at the time. Like maybe you couldn't really see who was stronger. Like maybe Shevchenko just, fell over. It happened. She loses position, ended up on bottom. But the fact that she went back to that grappling in round 2, and I think she went back to it again in round 3, like engaging in it actively, that was kind of shocking that she was playing, because she's not usually one to play to her opponent's strengths very much. So, Mike, what's your take on this fight? When do you see this fight finishing, if at all?
I mean, I can't give you a round, Pat. Come on, get it together. But I do think, I mean, actually, okay.
That's what you're here for.
I do like my round props. Fine, Pat. Fine.
If you're gonna make it, Shevchenko round 5 is plus 2,300.
Writing it down. Where's my marker?
There it is.
Well,
Okay.
I brought up Pink Floyd said he really likes Val round 4, round 5, and decision.
dope.
Dog.
I picked Valentina round 5 knockout. That was my official prediction on Just the Tip.
Nice. Yeah, 2,300 for round 5 plus 16 for round 4. Yeah, my degenerate ass will be on there. But what I'm really looking at, of course, I have Valentina in a chalk parlay. How could I not? If I parlayed Bone Nickal under 2.5 minus 750, but Shevchenko inside the distance, I just pulled it up. I don't have it played just yet, but it says that it is that, what is this? Minus 140. Best fight odds has been weird. They're not showing a lot of the books in their props. I know DraftKings without a doubt has this line. I just don't have it in front of me, but I'm looking at that. For me, it's the physicality. We always talk about the measurables, right? Remember Rosenstruck Mr. 6'3",
Yeah.
probably shorter than me, and I'm only 5'9". Like the guy, like their measurables are just weird. And I look at Shevchenko and I look at Grasso, and I have to think there's going to be a size disparity there. And if not, I know there's a physicality disparity. Grasso was at a different weight class, 5 fights ago? She was down a weight class. She's fought at bantamweight, right? Against Nunes?
Yep.
She's a big woman and she's strong. And I would love to back Grasso if I could, but I really don't see it. So I'm really looking at that inside the distance prop for her. Like against Santos, I think if that fight never happened, this would be a Bo Nickal line, like minus 2,000, because
Probably.
that like whole undefeated, like you can't beat her Aurora thing just went away because Tyler Santos showed, I could beat her. And she arguably did that night. As someone who had a lot of money on Shevchenko, I think Santos won. And I also wish this was a rematch and not someone new, but I think Shevchenko is going to be very dominant here. I do.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know. I like the fact that they're giving, Grasso a shot here and maybe Tyler Santos some more time to go back to the drawing board and really up her game as well. How old is Tyler Santos? Is she like wasting like a year of her prime here by not facing Shevchenko? Like, I forgot how old she was. She's not that old, is she? She's 29. So yeah,
1993,
I kind of like that she's got a little bit of time here to, get ready for that matchup, because maybe she does get the rematch after this one without taking a fight in between, unless she's scheduled, and I'm unaware of that. But it's tough. The matchmaking is so tough at these women's weight classes because it's like you want women to be more tested before they face the champion, but at the same time, you run out of matches very quickly when you have like the few skilled women in the top 15 facing each other and destroying each other's credibility. Nobody's on a win streak. Nothing looks legitimate. So they kind of have to feed them like single file line to the champion at a certain point. But
I really wish they did.
I can't wait for Santos.
I really wish they did the Santos Blanchfield fight, man. Like looking back at it now, I was going to go crazy on Santos, and I put like 3 units on Andrade, and man, Blanchfield showed me I'm completely wrong about her.
Well.
What a beast. Now I really wish we saw that fight, and I hope they make it, honestly, before the Shevchenko fight, because it's a win-win. Either you have Santos coming back, you got that rematch, you could hype it up, or you got, what is she, 23, Blanchfield?
Yeah, 23.
23, dude.
You got your female John Jones, and she's got it. She's really good. So, yeah. It's my piece.
Weezy, why do you think it's a round 5 finish?
Well, because I think that Alexa's rounding out her game. And I think that while this is at distance, Alexa's going to be just fine. I think that their striking is similar. Obviously, they have different styles. Alexa's got more of a boxing style, while it's more of a Muay Thai style for Valentina. But I think while they're on the feet, Alexa's going to be throwing more volume, and she's got nice, long, straight punches right down the pipe. So she can protect being countered. It's going to be Valentina's going to need to work up to that grappling to get those takedowns, because Alexa knows they're coming. She's not going to surprise like she did Andrade when she went out there and took down Andrade 8 times, when everyone was expecting Valentina to just use her size and reach advantage and her Muay Thai striking to beat her. She went and she took down Jessica. So I think that she's going to have to work up to that, and I think it's going to take a while to break Alexa on the ground.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I like the over 3.5 in this spot too. That's not too bad of a price tag either. Alexa does seem like she's tough, and again, it's gonna be a striking affair, maybe at least because I think Valentina's gonna get the better of it, So she's gonna stand there. She's very low volume, like Weezy says. She waits to counter, so it's gonna be up to Alexa to make the mistakes, and I think it at least goes 3.5. But either way, just got that chalk parlay with Shevchenko. But we move on to why everybody's here, the main event, the giant fight. It is technically the plan B, not the plan A. I know they were talking about Ngannou the entire time against John Jones over the past few years, but I like this matchup a lot better. I think it says more skill for skill and how well these guys move as big men. So 30 of you guys in the live chat joining us for this pay-per-view panel. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you check out Uncle Weezy's links in the description. If you live under a rock, don't know who this man is, but at least check out his Patreon as well. amazing analytics there that I always want to plug for him because he does great work for our community. But we got Jon Jones returning after 3 years off of the game, the best to ever do it to mixed martial arts, in my opinion, especially at 205. It's undisputed. And he's taken on Ciryl Gane, the former interim heavyweight champion, one of the more evolved heavyweights we've ever seen in mixed martial arts. Guy who's very good at doing a lot of the things that Jon Jones was made famous for, switching stances, striking effectively out of both stances, just that long reach that nobody can really deal with. And, Jon Jones does have that grappling edge, but we haven't really seen it in a long time. I mean, obviously he's been out for a while, but even when he does wrestle, like my question is if he does wrestle in this fight, when? Because he wasn't really having success until later in a lot of the fights with the wrestling. But he does have that championship mentality where if it gets close going into the later parts of a fight, he does dig deep and he pulls through. The one time I had to see that from Ciryl Gane, he didn't really have it, right? He ended up losing that close decision, doing something stupid on the mat. So overall, man, the time off, Jon Jones coming up a weight class, I got to favor Ciryl Gane, especially at plus money. We're looking at still plus 130, plus 135 for Ciryl Gane. Plus 140, plus 145 for Ciryl Gane, minus 170 for Jon Jones. And I'm sure by fight night, there's going to be some Jones money coming in even more than it already has. But I think this fight might actually be a little bit more boring than it's being, made out to be. You know what I mean? Like there's a good possibility that this looks like a classic Ciryl Gane performance and he outstrikes from, he might concede and actually work backwards and let Jones advance. But, I think he's going to just kick the legs in and out, inside and outside leg kicks, jab him, maybe eventually blitz him with the rear cross as he does, circle off the cage and teep kicks up the middle. It might be one of those Ciryl Gane type performances unless Jon Jones takes the risks that he's been known for in his career. But as the older man here, is he really going to do it after a long layoff? Weezy, what do you think about this fight? Who wins this one, man? I'm thinking Gane by decision as my most, confident lean here, but it's a scary fight.
Yeah, like for instance, this fight right now is about like minus 110, whether it's fight goes or fight doesn't go.
Isn't that wild for a 5-round heavyweight fight?
For a 5-round heavyweight fight, take a guess, right? Let's say I were to say there were about 70 of them. How many do you think finished inside the distance?
59.
Dude, it's 79%.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
so I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's between 79 and 80% of heavyweight fights that have finished inside the distance at 5 rounds. And this is almost a 70-fight sample size. And now you're taking a guy in Jon Jones. Now, and I understand the stylistic reads is that Jon Jones really doesn't have power even at 205. He's not landing knockdowns, Ciryl Gane is a very patient, minute-winning point fighter, who uses his athleticism and makes his defense like his best weapon, and then he's able to kind of touch you when he doesn't touch him. So a lot of people are thinking that this fight's going to go to decision, but, the price that you're paying, these are 265-pound men. These are big, strong, powerful dudes in these fights. And these guys don't often have the best conditioning either, which leads you to believe that there could be late finishes in these fights. So I think a lot of people are thinking that Jon Jones, a lot of people are making assumptions about Jon Jones. He's going to wrestle. He's going to look great. He's going to, his skills
That's
are
all you can do is make assumptions. The guy's been missing,
Exactly.
All you can do is assume.
So don't be confident. That would be my advice to everybody. I have no bets on this fight yet. I'm thinking about taking the fight doesn't go to decision, just simply as an analytics play. I understand how the stylistic read of this fight is, but what if Jon Jones is still just fucking partying and Ciryl Gane just goes out there and cleans his fucking clock because he doesn't give a shit about MMA anymore? There's so many unanswered questions, but everything that's unanswered about this fight is kind of leaning me to do this, to just say, you know what, I'm putting 1 unit on Ciryl Gane simply because he's plus 140 right now, and there's like dozens of unanswered questions about how Jon Jones is going to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think he's going to weigh in at, Jon Jones? Both of you guys, Mike and Weezy, do you think he's going to weigh in? Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought if the Dale on my stream last night asked me what I thought the over under would be, I thought it was like 237.5 would be like where you'd set that at, over or under. But yeah, I think you're right. Like right around that 240, I would imagine. What
I
about
think
you,
people
Mike?
are going to be surprised. I think
Heavier?
I'm going to talk about it in a second when I'm going, but yeah, I think he's been bulking up.
You're going now, man. What's
All
up?
right. I had to write things down that I'm going to say because I smoked a little too much, but
I'm ready.
So I did back John Jones relatively early, minus 145. I put 3 units on it. So I'm going to preface this with this right now. If you're going to listen to me right now and stop and go bet it, stop it, because I might hedge. This is the thing I said earlier. I might hedge a little bit because Weezy put it perfectly. We have to make assumptions here. I think Pat said it too. We have to make assumptions. We have no choice because he's been out for so long, John Jones. And I think that putting 3 units on it was a little too much. So that's why I think I am going to hedge out of there. But I am going to leave enough to still win a unit because I do think John Jones can do this. So first of all, on my list, John Jones going up a weight class, right? Unlike other people, remember when Gustafsson went up a weight class and he looked horrible and got submitted by, who was it? Shogun?
I can't remember who it was.
I forgot who it was. I'll look though.
Whatever it was, he looked horrible. But what happened in there? It wasn't a buildup. He just went from light heavyweight to heavyweight. John Jones took 3 years. And I understand you could say, oh, he just couldn't make a deal, whatever. But no, he was bulking. Like, I follow him. I look at it. I try to look at all fighters, but the guy's been bulking and working. I know a lot of people are coming at him for his training partners, and honestly, I'm with you. I don't know what the hell he's doing with people like that. But I'll also say Gane doesn't have amazing people in the room that wrestle either. Look at MMA Factory as a whole, right? A lot of their fighters, they're not grapplers. Nasruddin Imavov is a big name. There's a lot of guys on the regionals. They're amazing strikers at range, but they're not wrestlers. And Cyril Gane showed that. And in terms of the wrestling with Gane, right, the takedown defense, whatnot, one thing I'll say is that, like, it's not enough to just train for one camp. It's not enough to train even for 3 camps. If you're fighting a wrestler like John Jones, I don't think it's enough. And another thing is I see so many people on Twitter saying the only reason people are on John Jones is because Ngannou out-wrestled Gane. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why. And I think that's a great reason. I think it makes a lot of sense because that was my first ever max bet. Cyril Gane. I got him at like minus 110. Extremely confident. First ever max bet. Put it on Gane. And yeah, he could have won that fight even with getting out grappled if he wasn't such a dummy for no reason. But to me, like, Ngannou's not John Jones in the wrestling. He's not. He's just very physical and strong, and he had a great camp, and he surprised Cyril Gane, but he's not the same wrestler as John Jones. On the feet, of course I'm concerned, yeah. But another thing I would bring up is I think a lot of people are looking at Jones. We only have old tape, right? That's all we can work off of. But they're not realizing that Dominic Reyes and Thiago Santos at those times were completely different fighters than what we're seeing right now. Thiago Santos blew out his knee and has never been the same since. And Dominic Reyes has never mentally recovered from that loss. Every single time he had a fight, Reyes in his interview said, if only I got that win. I should have got that win. If that win happened, I'd be this and this. And what happens every time he says it, he just loses to a worse and worse opponent. He loses by power jab to Ryan Spann. So I think that there's a lot of things to consider here. What's on my list? Last thing I wanted to bring up. John Jones signed an 8-fight contract going into this fight. So if people are thinking like, is he taking this serious? Is he like really, going after it? He signed an 8-fight deal. That's no joke. That's a long, long deal. I'm sure they paid him an arm and a leg and 40 of them.
He got a cue to Weezy's impression of Juan Camilo Ronderos for when he signed that contract. That's probably what happened. When he's like, 8 fights, sure. I'm in. Vacuums up another line.
I'm like, oh, my sure. Dealer, I got more money for more blow.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's just another thing I'm not considering. I don't like narrative stuff, but just one other thing I wanted to bring up. But all that said, Steve coming at me. Did Mike just make a case against his own pick? Steve, you should know me by now, bro. I think either way. But I'm smart enough to like, not the brightest cookie, but I'm smart enough to know when I probably should hedge and where I made a mistake. Now,
Yeah, it's a
I
tough,
still
it's a
think
tough
John
spot.
Jones wins. I'm not hedging out, but I'm just uncomfortable with 3 units on him because he has been out for 3 years. We're making a ton of assumptions, and Cyril Gane is a stud other than that Ngannou fight. So I am going to hedge down. Going to keep my bet, though, overall. And that's all I really got. I agree with Weezy. Looking at that under-over is nuts, right? Minus 115 for heavyweights. Like, I was even looking at the under 1.5. It's like plus 340. It's not their style, so I do understand that. But
Yeah. It is wild seeing those numbers in a heavyweight fight, though. Herc MMA trying to see John Jones. I would dust John Jones in a lifting contest, bro. What did Dev say earlier? He said he deadlifts 6. I did that when I was 19. Come on, I'm not a minus 170 over Cyril Gane just because I did that. Yeah, I did that when I was a teenager. Come on now. What do you think? My only investment on this fight, and I'm picking Gane by decision, but dude, it's the greatest of all time in John Jones. He could come in here and look even leveled up at heavyweight and have a whole nother career at this age. I would love to, for history's sake, as an MMA fan, I would love to see that happen. I don't have any investment on this fight other than just like some multi-event parlays I had boosted with Gane. So like less than a unit's worth of investment. I had like, Makhachev. I think even Rakhmonov's on there. I know what's his face, Gilbert Burns. So there's like a lot of big favorites just across multi-events that I'm like, you know what? Let's boost this with some Cyril Gane just in case. So that's my only investment. I'm gonna watch this as a fan. Like I said, my prediction is that it's going to be a very technical match where neither guy really wants to make the mistake. We see some flashes of the old John Jones taking some risks, and the large majority is Cyril Gane outpointing from the outside. So I think this is going to be one of those types of fights, but I hope it's exciting. I hope John Jones goes in there and
question for you guys,
all the confidence, man, and starts throwing spinning elbows and everything else that he used to.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think once fight night comes? Like, what do you think Cyril Gane will max out on odds-wise, if you had to guess right now?
150, 155 is where I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would imagine that. Maybe even plus 10%.
I think maybe even a little more. That's why I'm like waiting to hedge because, dude, I have so many casual friends who just put a boatload of money on stuff for no damn reason. And of course, they're just blind betting John Jones.
And this is a spot where like they'd be right to do so, honestly. Like if you're going to put money on somebody like this blindly as a casual, like the best of all time is not the worst option in the world.
You know how Kanye always puts like 2 million fake dollars on bets?
Drake, you mean?
Oh my God. Yeah, Drake. Thank you.
Yeah. Drake. Yeah.
Drake does that. Sorry, guys. I've had like 5 White Claws, but I bet you money he's going to do it on this one, which is usually a curse, but he's been right like one time. So
what did he get? He got Israel. I think he got Israel Adesanya. Correct.
Yeah, he had a ton of money on Masvidal versus Covington.
Wild.
I remember when they said he put like $250,000. I started laughing so hard I cried. I'm like, dude, Colby's gonna.
Yeah, that was. And for him, that was like what, like a tenth of a unit. So whatever,
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Good bankroll management, Drake. Good bankroll management.
Bust his balls, but this guy's laughing his ass off. He can lose $275,000 on a bet and be okay.
Exactly. So, all right, you guys, we made it through all 14 fights of this epic pay-per-view card. I cannot wait for this. I'm nervously waiting as we get closer to the weigh-ins. I hope nothing crazy happens here, but. If you guys just round off with what's your favorite bet of the card here, Weezy, we'll kick it off with you, man. What do you like the most? Like, what are you most confident in?
I gotta tell you, man. All right, so I'm really high on Jalen Turner in this spot, plus 190 there. The Turner scorecards equals no action at plus 168. I kind of feel like Gamrot could absolutely get a submission, and he's got great boxing. Turner doesn't have great defense on the feet, so he can get a knockout too, obviously. But I feel like Turner has way more finishing equity in this spot, especially with the way that Gamrot's going to have to fight in order to make Turner less dangerous. So I do like that finish-only prop for Jalen Turner, and I also like the Viviane Araujo money line at plus money. I can't pass that up. Stylistically, I think that this is a great spot for her, and she should be like minus 150.
Okay, that's pretty confident, man. It's a little bit more confident than I am in her, even. But I do have that bet on her at the same line, pretty much, just plus or minus a few percent. Yeah, it was plus 104 is what I have written down. So, yeah, I like that one as well. As far as like a confident pick on this card, I am starting to like that. I'm starting to like that Mana Martinez. I really do think he's got a good path here for where the money line's at, and I do like his finish prop in there too. His knockout at plus what did I say, plus 700? I saw in, I think, FanDuel. So those spots I like. 'Cause I just think that's an egregiously mispriced line. So from a betting perspective, I like that. Mike, what do you got on this one as your favorite? I know you've got a ton of action here, some parlays. What's your most confident one that you're not even sweating right now?
All right. I mean, come on, dude. I believe in drinks, so I'm sweating all of these, even the minus 800 favorites. But in terms of a favorite bet, well, I can't give the Nickal Pickett under 2.5 at minus 750. That wouldn't be quite fair. All right, I'm gonna give 2 then, because I honestly I can't pick. The first one's gonna go directly against Weezy. I'm gonna pick Gamrot because I'm just not comfortable with a lot of these money lines. I only have 3: Jones, Gamrot, Araujo. And for me, out of those 3, it's definitely Gamrot that I'm most confident in. And hey, Weezy, you want to do a shoey bet?
Dude, I don't do shoeys, man. I don't. Let's do like a weed bet of some kind because, and I mean, like, and I'm taking the plus money side here too, you know. So, but I am confident, you know, in Turner's power and his finishing ability. He's opportunistic.
Oh, I get it for sure, man. My first gut feeling was Turner. It's always towards the dog, and I love Turner. But my second favorite bet, I think I'm going to do Garry by TKO. I just think this is the perfect matchup for him to show up and show out. And
I like that one too. I'm very confident in that one.
I really think so. One more I'm going to sneak in. The Garbrandt, Trevin Jones over 1.5. I think that one's really solid too. Minus 135, minus 131. You don't have to be crazy like me and parlay it with something. You could just play that money line and call it a day. I think that's really solid.
That one is a scary one, but I do like it quite a bit as well. So, Weezy, the floor is yours, man. Let the people know where they can find you over at the MMA Engine. You've got programs on your own channel. You've got programs. What is going on the rest of your week?
Yeah, so like I'm almost done for the week, but I'm still going to be giving out a greasy 4-leg parlay on Friday on my channel, Uncle Weezy, and you can find me there every Tuesday night for my full card breakdown at 10 o'clock Central Time called Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy. You can also find me on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday with my man DFS by the Numbers doing Stat Diggers. We do a DFS show every Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And I'm usually with the guys on the watch along as well on Saturdays for Pub Sports Radio while we're watching the fights. And then, yeah, you can check me out on my channel. But where I really prefer that you check me out is on my Patreon, because I'm giving out really good analytics and statistics. And I promise you, like, the level of these stats and analytics that I'm giving out are the cheapest that you're going to get for serious MMA bettors. So check me out at patreon.com /Uncle.
And not only that, but just to add on that point is the timeliness. You're posting that like well before before this weekend's event. Like you're on the next thing already. I see you posting that 3 a.m. Sometimes my phone's blowing up with your stats, your Excel spreadsheet. So
that's when it gets done, dude. It's like my girlfriend goes to bed at like 11:30, 12, and then I bring out the computer and I put on like an MMA podcast on YouTube on the TV, and I just start inputting the stats, and it's like 3:30 comes around, I'm done. I'm like, all right, bedtime, you know?
All right, Mike, my venerable co-host for the panel. Let the people know where they can find you and what else you have going on in the week, my friend.
First off, thank you to everybody tuning in. I mean, we've been going for 2 hours and almost 20 minutes, and
long card
watching us. Appreciate all of you big time. Appreciate you, Uncle Weezy, for coming on. I mean, every show with you is dope. I appreciate my co-host, Patrick, over there. I mean, look at us. Look at us. It's fun. But
it is.
In terms of my stuff, I put out a video yesterday. I went live with John Kelly. Super dope. John is on top of this stuff, so check that out. Tomorrow I'm going live with my guy, Big Steve, roasting me in the chat. He's not wrong with the fade the shoey. I'm currently 0-4 on shoey bets. So fading Mike's shoey bets is not a bad angle. It's not. I might start doing it too. But me and Steve will be going live tomorrow for PFL. I'll post everything and I'll put up a link probably tonight or tomorrow. And on Friday, me and Propaholic are going to do our Twitter space, Prop Talk. Always a lot of fun. He likes crazy props. I like crazy props. So pull up. And yeah, thank you guys all again.
All right. All of you guys in the chat still, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you have not already. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Good luck and enjoy the fights this weekend. Cheers.